This is the Put It in the Game podcast. This is the Put It in the Game podcast.
Yes. Welcome in, everyone, to the Put It in the Air podcast. I'm your host, Brendan Casello, a.k.a. East Coast Virus.
And I'm Pascal Rawls Philippe, a.k.a. Punks in Drublic.
And we're here to put it in the air and tell you about what's going on in our fantasy world and the NFL fantasy world. So what's up, man? Anything new going on this week? Anything crazy? Any breaking news? Or
No, I mean, the Jets lost again.
okay,
That always makes me feel good.
that's one positive. I mean, last week you had the Jets lose, you had the Patriots win, you
Yeah.
won. You must have been feeling real good.
No. Honestly, it felt all right. I like to see the Pats win, but this season is about developing the young guys, about how does Drake May play. So he actually didn't play that great. So it was like, all right, cool, they won. I'm happy. But
So it was better to be a Giants fan in that case, where they just keep losing and going for that number one overall next year.
still no. No, I'd much rather be in the Patriots' shoes right now than the Giants.
What about fantasy? Where would you rather be in fantasy?
Yeah, I think I might be looking up at a few people who I'd like to switch luck with at least,
Yeah.
because I have scored more points than you bums. But bums sorry, don't always get what is coming to them, and I unfortunately have, and I'm sitting outside the playoffs right now.
There's still hope, man. There's still hope. There's tons of programs to get you back in the playoffs. And we'll start hopefully this week as you face off against a team who's been dominating. However, this past week, woof.
Whoa. But I mean, it feels good to have that loss at the end of the season when you're sitting in third, rather than at the beginning of the season when you're tied for everyone else 0-0. So.
And you're scoring 200 points one week and 75 the next.
Exactly.
So yeah, we had a really interesting week of fantasy. We finally got some production out of several fantasy players and some not so much. There is some breaking news that there wasn't too much breaking going on this week. There was very, very few injuries, which is great to see. You never want to see a whole list of injured players, especially when it's fantasy relevant, especially towards this time of the year when people are fighting for the playoffs.
And even as the NFL goes, I always felt like it was a cheap win as a Patriots fan when we were going into the playoffs against a team that was missing half their team to injury.
That's true.
So the wins feel that much better when the other team is at full strength. So
Yeah.
it's nice to see people coming back. It's nice to see teams rounding themselves out and getting ready for this last third of the season.
Yeah, and as you look at some of the rosters, especially in week 12 and week 14, there's so many bye weeks in those 2 weeks that people have the most hodgepodge rosters.
Yeah, it's wild.
I mean, Colin, who had a stellar week, the second best in our fantasy league history this past week, his team next week looks like your team in week 3. I mean, it's just it's a patchwork project.
Yeah, honestly, I think that it's kind of ridiculous that the NFL has bye weeks this late into the season.
It is a little silly,
Week
especially
14,
so many.
That's longer than the entire college season. And so you're basically asking players to play a full season before they get their bye. To me, it would make more sense to have less games in the middle of the season, but have more teams on bye. And then the last third of the season is really just playoff pushes.
And why not spread it out a little bit more? I mean, I think there's 6 teams going on bye in week 14, but there was no teams on bye this past week. Or was there? There was, or maybe last week. I think there was.
I think that there's a team on bye every week.
Is there? It feels like there was.
I mean, they start byes, what, week 4?
Yeah, week 4,
right?
yeah.
Week 4 is when byes start, I think.
Or 5. Week 4 or 5.
Yeah, something like that. And then they go till week 14. So, I mean, we're talking about 9 weeks, 32 teams. You should be able to get at most 4 teams on bye a week. I don't know.
That's problematic though, because there's several weeks where there's 2, and then there's weeks where there's 6 or 4, and it's
I don't. Then again, the scheduling for the NFL is something that takes a while. It's difficult. You have to take into account a lot of different factors. So maybe that's more so what the problem is than anything else.
That's true. It is a science.
I can't really speak on it.
It's a puzzle that they need to put together, especially with the international games and the Thursday and Monday night games.
Exactly.
And Saturday and Thanksgiving.
And then concerts. You have other teams from other sports that use the same stadium sometimes. Like there's a lot that goes into it. So
that gets difficult. They must have so much pull when it comes to like being like, not really. The Cowboys are playing the Texans that Monday, not
not really.
That country singer.
I feel like almost every season you hear about a game that gets put on the back burner because of some concert or something else that's happening at the stadium. So, I think that it actually kind of goes the other way.
Yeah, remember COVID when they had to like postpone games and, we had games on Tuesdays and Wednesdays and stuff like that.
But then also you've got like snow, if there's a snow problem, right, or a weather problem. Or hurricanes, blizzards, then they have to change it, and they usually don't really get their pick of the litter.
Or if your retractable roof starts spitting out giant hunks of metal. I can't believe they played that game after that happened. That's insane.
What is going on over at Jerry World?
It's literally falling apart.
Literally, figuratively, and it's all before our eyes.
Fantasy, reality, all of it. It's pretty awesome. So just a quick update on the good old 5-37 bet. I had a really good week, man. It felt really nice. I mean, I have some, players that are some of the same players, but it's a different roster in each league. And I put up 173 twice and 168, so it was pretty consistent.
Wow.
Yeah, I beat Frank by 27. I beat Jay, who was in last place, but only a few spots back, by a little more than 27. And then I beat my niece by 33. It was a good week. So
you beat your niece? Bro.
It's weird. It's Julia's niece, but now that we're married, so it's my niece.
Wife's niece?
My wife's niece. Yeah. She's good. She's a good team.
Listen, do we need to show up at your house? Because that sounds problematic.
I mean, it was a win is a win. What can I say? So I swept the board this week, and now am up to 20 wins. So Jay, Pascal, Julia, we passed you off. No money for you. No money for you.
Damn, I really wanted that $5.
Yeah, now it's going to become $10 if I hit 22, 23, or 24. We got Billy, Scott, and Marv with those guesses.
All right.
I plan on
have 3 weeks left?
So 9 games left. So I plan on going better than 4 and 5, but we'll see. You never know.
I mean, going 4 and 5 would actually be pretty good considering how the season's been going for people. So
yeah, and my decision making in our league specifically, because it has been awful to say the least.
And that is saying the least.
Yeah, I mean, projected 2 and 12,
you would probably be in third place if you just started the right team.
Maybe better. I'd probably be where Scott's sitting right now.
Maybe.
Scott's looking grerait. And Marv, let's not even get started. We'll get into that as we move along. But let's move along and ask some of the most important questions coming from this week.
Okay, so what's in the air? What are you thinking about? What was going through your head while you were watching the games this weekend?
Well, I'm sorry. I'm totally distracted by my horrible segue into It's in the Air.
That's all right.
We're a work in progress. Yeah, this is season 1 still. All right. So I, watching football this weekend, I'm looking and I'm like, man, there's some teams that are consistently winning. Some teams that were supposed to be bottom 5 that are like looking good, top of their division. And it brought this question to mind. Who's the bigger surprise this season? Would it be the Minnesota Vikings or the Denver Broncos?
That's a good question.
Chew on it for a sec.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I actually knew that this question was coming.
Oh, good.
Sorry to give everyone a peek behind the veil, but
That's
yes,
all right.
I did read ahead.
I did write it down, so it's not bad.
No, but it's a good question because on one hand, you have the Vikings who everyone already said that they were a great landing spot for JJ McCarthy, right? So we already knew that they had a really good defense, that their offense was kind of just already set up to be plug and play for a quarterback that, as a rookie, you can't expect a ton from. And so then you've got Sam Darnold coming in, who actually played pretty well in San Francisco. Obviously, everyone wants to forget about his time in New Jersey, but there were a lot of people that thought that he was a really serviceable player, that there would be no drop off from Brock Purdy to him. So even though we had this preconceived notion in our head about him that he's a bust, that he's not that good,
he's just a Lego fireman.
I think that his most recent stop really should have had people thinking like, okay, yeah, this could work. Whereas with the Broncos, it was kind of a dumpster fire. I know I've talked about how Russ kind of played pretty well, but Bo Nix was the 6th quarterback taken off the board. And sure, everyone said that he was probably one of the most pro-ready, probably the second behind Jaden Daniels because he had 6 years in college. But still, he was the 6th guy off the board, and here we are. He almost beat the Chiefs last week. This week, they go in and destroy
the Falcons. Destroy.
Right? Like completely
they benched
obliterate
Kirk
them.
Cousins because of how insane the Denver defense is performing.
Michael Penix put up two passes. So it's like,
yeah, okay,
but sure, it was a blowout, and they took out their quarterback.
Threw for 500 yards a few weeks ago, or 400 yards or something.
You've got to be looking at Bo Nix as the front runner for Offensive Rookie of the Year at this point.
You're eating your words, man. You're eating your words from earlier in the season.
Yeah, well, no, he wasn't playing well.
Completely understandable.
If Jaden Daniels had continued to play well, then he would be far and away Rookie of the Year.
Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors are getting overtaken
Jaden Daniels has had a he hasn't had a bye yet. So in I think 4 of the last 5 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't played that well.
No, he hasn't.
And so I'm sorry, but you got to take it into account.
Yeah,
Bo Nix didn't play well at the beginning of the season, but he's a rookie.
Remember,
that's kind of what you expect.
Pascal was like, no Nix.
Yes, he was no Nix.
And
here's my last point, though.
Okay,
is that if we're looking at what rookie quarterback has played the best based off of their situation, I'm taking Drake May. Because I think that Drake May has played the best out of all of them, but he's only played 6 games, I believe. And Bo Nix has a whole season, and he's playing well right now, and we're a prisoner of the moment. So,
and you're sprinkling a little bit of bias on that, just a touch.
Very little. I mean,
you love Drake May, man.
Listen, he did something that only Dan Marino has done since in the Super Bowl era. He did something that no other quarterback has done in it was the amount of yards he threw for, amount of touchdowns, rushing yards, and he put up numbers that no other quarterback has ever put up before. So, yes, I do think that he is playing better than Bo Nix. However, it's a smaller sample size, and because they're not winning, you don't win records when your team's not winning.
I mean, but Bo Nix, you can't say that he's playing better. The guy threw for 4 touchdowns this week. The guy runs the ball well. He runs touchdowns. He's a beast, man.
Yeah, but one game isn't a whole season, and so
that's understandable.
On average, Drake is playing better, but it's really close.
Yeah.
And so after this week, Bo might be ahead. So I think that it's really neck and neck for the two.
I remember earlier in the season when I was like, is Bo Nix going to overtake Jaden Daniels for Offensive Rookie of the Year? And you're like, no way. What are you talking about?
What did I say about Jaden, though? What did I say about Jaden, though? Is that
he's gonna
fall off towards the end of the season.
Pumpkin at the middle of the night.
The Cliff Kingsbury offense always loses steam towards the second half of the season, and we'll see if they can pick it back up. But that's proven true.
Yeah.
Bo, yeah, I didn't have faith in him.
I think really what's fueling that is their defense. It is just tremendous.
Well, they have a great offensive line, right? And Sean Payton is a really good coach.
Yeah.
You got to give him credit.
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough.
Yeah.
To watch.
But so I think honestly,
bet.
like if things keep going the way they're going, that it's going to be a really close race between Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May for that offensive rookie of the year.
You wouldn't consider any receivers even if they blow out the rest of the year?
No, receivers not going to win over quarterbacks when they're playing like this.
That's true.
Might be the best quarterback draft in decades.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the best receiving draft in like the last decade. I mean, you've got quite a few talented guys, you know.
Yeah, but they're not producing like
they've had off weeks for sure.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like you don't have Puka Nacua season, you don't have an Odell Beckham season. Like they're good.
Well, Odell Beckham didn't have the most insane rookie season. He just had that.
I thought he had like
catch.
1,300 yards this rookie year.
Did he?
Yeah, I think he had.
As a Giants fan, it's easy to forget that because we've just been losing since he left and showed up and whatever.
Yeah, understandable. All right, so what else are you thinking about? What else is going on in that dome of yours?
So I really this one's even more interesting, I think. Who do you think will win the NFC West? Now, to give you a little rundown, the Cardinals lead the division at 6-4.
Okay.
The rest of the division.
Wow, the Cardinals are in front.
The Cardinals are in
front.
front.
Who would have thought that was gonna? I mean, like, there's always a worst to first, but like,
it's insane.
Yeah.
It's so behind them is the Seahawks. Who else is in their division besides the 49ers? Because the 49ers are in
the Rams.
The Rams. Okay, Seahawks, Rams, and 49ers are all 5-5. So it is such a tight race. Every other division has a clear leader.
And the 49ers are in last place, aren't they?
The 49ers are on the bottom based on the divisional matchups.
Yeah.
Because they lost this week to the...
So I'm going to say this about the Cardinals. The 49ers, who they lose to? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Oh, they lost to...
The Seahawks.
Yeah, they lost to the Seahawks.
So it was a big divisional loss, this big time.
Yeah, that's huge.
They dropped heavy.
That's huge.
Yeah.
The Cardinals. Let's start with them. The Cardinals, I saw them a lot over the offseason because I was doing a lot of mock drafts because the Patriots were picking 3, and it's a lot more fun when your team's picking high to do mock drafts.
Yeah.
And one thing that really stood out was how many picks the Cardinals had in like the top like 4 rounds. They had like 10 picks or something in the top 4 rounds with like 2 in the second. I think they had 2 in the first. They just had picks all over the place.
They arose from maybe the DeAndre Hopkins trade along with a few other things over the years.
Exactly. And so they had a lot of ammo in a draft that was really deep at positions of need on the defensive line, receiver, obviously, kind of all over the field. And so it looks like they might have hit on a lot of those picks.
Yeah.
It also helps to have one of the most dynamic, if not, well, not the, but one of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the league.
Top 5.
Sure. Behind Lamar,
and that's my bias,
of course, right?
It's trickling in.
But it helps to have that guy who was out, who helped you get these high draft picks. But he's another guy that tends to disappear after Thanksgiving.
I mean, if you think about it, though, like, look at their defense. If you want to focus on what is miraculous about them being on the top of their division, their defense is Budda Baker and a group of random dudes that are making it happen.
I think they're random to you because they're young.
Yeah, well, that's probably what the reason is.
Because they're not that random.
I
think they took, like, one of the top defensive tackles. I think that they took, like, one of the top safeties. So they've got just young guys that we don't really know yet.
Yeah, and they're hitting.
Not following college football.
Now,
I think that they're in a good position, obviously in first place. But the one that I would really look at is who just played the Patriots this past weekend is the Rams. Because the Rams are finally
So you think
healthy
the Rams are the favorite in your mind?
I think that they're most likely to end up in first place in the NFC West.
It's so crazy because most people would say, obviously before the season started, 49ers, obviously, right?
Sure.
Now, I think the Cardinals are playing at their peak performance right now. Trey McBride's going off, finally getting Marvin Harrison involved. Their defense is firing on all cylinders. They're playing great. Kyler's doing his thing. It's good to see. But I think that the Seattle Seahawks, after this week, what they were able to do, finally seeing Geno take that freaking 11 play drive down the field in 2.5 minutes and run that in himself to close the game out. I mean, that was just so epic with their receiving core. Even Tyler Lockett's waking up from the dead, but DK Metcalf, JSN, Kenneth Walker, even Zach Charbonnet is a weapon out of the backfield. Geno's putting this together, and you haven't even seen Noah Fant really be healthy. What happens when he comes in and is healthy? He might take even more eyes off of the superstars. These guys are playing great.
And they have a good offensive line and good defensive line.
Yeah.
And that tends to be where winning football starts, is right there in the trenches.
They're gonna be a force to be reckoned with when it comes to this division.
My thing is that I just think that when it comes down to evenly matched teams, it comes down to the quarterback. And Matthew Stafford is by far the best quarterback in the division. I think that Kyler can make things happen, but he's not the quarterback that Matt Stafford is, even at like 36 years old.
Do you think Kyler's better than Geno?
Definitely.
In terms of overall?
Definitely. Guaranteed.
And
I think
and
that Geno's the worst quarterback in the division.
Brock is above Geno then?
Yeah, definitely.
And Brock and Kyler, what do you think? Ooh, that's
I would take Brock, but more so because of Shanahan than because of the quarterbacks themselves.
Okay.
I think that Shanahan's system just makes people wide open. And so he's going to be more consistent, even if he's not a more talented quarterback.
Let's not forget the weapons that he has at his disposal. Obviously, he has
that's actually why I think that the 49ers are going to end up in last place, is because despite how good their weapons are, they've been to the Super Bowl and to the NFC Championship so many times. And I can tell you not firsthand, I never played in the NFL, but from watching the Patriots dominate for 20 years, going that late into the season over and over again really wears on you, right? Because if you're playing an extra 3 to 4 games every season, out of 4 years, you've played an extra season of football over teams that miss the playoffs.
Yeah, but they seem to be able to patch up the holes that are left by like Brandon Ayuk.
But less and less. That's
Jawan Jennings,
But that's the thing, less and less. Like, these guys keep getting hurt. Debo keeps getting hurt. Kittle keeps getting hurt.
Right,
their offensive line isn't great. They've had attrition there. They have Trent Williams, probably the best lineman in football, but like after that, it's not a ton.
CMC's back. Hopefully he can start building on what he has shown so far. He's shown some flashes, but
he's okay. Like, ran for 80 yards.
Tremendous.
That's what I'm saying. They're all older. They're all getting more and more hurt. Those seasons start to wear on your body, and it's tough to keep up after that.
Yeah. It is very interesting that division. The last couple years, it's been the NFC East that's been the close division, and a few years ago it was because they all sucked. Like everybody was really bad.
I think the NFC East is that overhyped division, right? Because the Eagles have been good. They've won a Super Bowl, but like, you kind of think it's better than it is because it's big market teams, and so they get a lot of play, and everyone always thinks the Cowboys are good, but they never really are.
But they have styrofoam foundations. That's like the Eagles seem to have been losing it this year in the middle of the season. They seem to have it back on track.
The Cowboys have no depth. They've got great top-end talent, but the
Cowboys
to never have depth.
From top to bottom are just a porous organization. And it is just so amazing to watch year after year.
I don't mind
as a
it.
Giants fan. I'm sure there's many other people that aren't even fans of the NFC East that just love seeing it. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, I don't mind. That's one of the reasons I was thinking about giving up my Cowboy, but we'll get to that later.
Cowboy up. All right, guys. Well, you have anything else for?
No, I think that's
cool. All right. So let's move on to our next segment, which is, dude,
what happened?
Pun down.
The Commanders at the Eagles. Jaden Daniels has cooled off from his hot start and saved his day statistically by targeting tight end Zach Ertz repeatedly down the field for a garbage time touchdown that annoyed all fantasy owners unfortunate enough to be facing Ertz this week. Meanwhile, the Eagles rely on another huge game from Saquon Barkley, annoying all fantasy owners unfortunate enough to start Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith.
This divisional matchup was close-knit with a back-and-forth, who's gonna have the ball last kind of feel. That is, until Saquon goes into beast mode, putting up back-to-back touchdowns within 20 seconds of each other with less than 5 minutes in the game. Philly, 26, Washington, 18.
The Ravens at the Steelers. Lamar Jackson is rounding into playoff form as he decides somewhat cold weather isn't his friend, and the coaches decide they might as well save their superstar duo for later in the year. Meanwhile, the Steelers beat a team that is technically legitimate, but seems to be doing their best impression of a team that is, in fact, not legitimate.
The Steelers' defense gets all the credit here as they turn over the Ravens 3 times. Company that with 2 missed automatic field goals and a 2-point conversion that gets stuffed like next week's turkey. Pittsburgh 18, Baltimore 16.
The Jaguars at the Lions. Patriots fans everywhere recognize the Mac Jones who attempted to resemble an NFL quarterback in this game, and Travis Etienne fantasy owners question why anyone thought he was a good draft pick. Meanwhile, the Lions absolutely destroy their opponent as Dan Campbell channels his inner 2007 Bill Belichick as Detroit makes Jacksonville look like a high school team.
Jacksonville finished with 179 yards of total offense as Detroit triples that effort with close to 650 total yards as they pass for 4 touchdowns and run for another 3. Jacksonville loses to Detroit 52-6. Oi!
The Rams at the Patriots. Matt Stafford is happy to have Puka and Cooper back as he's easily the most impressive NFL QB on the wrong side of 35. Meanwhile, the Patriots have their QB of the future, but he is still too young to have developed his Tom Brady clutch gene, so they lost.
Matthew Stafford throws 4 touchdowns as Drake May throws for 2, fumbles 1 away, and throws a pick on what could have been his game-winning drive as the Pats lose this surprisingly close battle, 28-22.
The Browns at the Saints. Jameis somehow throws for 400 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions, but the Browns only score 14 points in what has to be the most Browns stat sheet possible. Meanwhile, Derek Carr throws 21 of 27 for 248 yards and 2 touchdowns, but is the second most productive QB on his team in what has to be the most Saints stat sheet possible.
Jameis Winston throws for 395 yards with 2 touchdowns as the Browns do a great job at everything except containing Taysom Hill, who gets 10 targets, throws a pick, and runs for 138 yards and 3 touchdowns on 7 carries. Looks like what Colin did to Longfellow as New Orleans wins 34-14. 35-14. I missed the extra point.
The Colts at the Jets. Anthony Richardson returns to the starting lineup now that he's no longer tired and plays like he took a perfectly timed nap, despite having no help from his running game, and also despite Aaron Rodgers also playing quarterback in this game. Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers played quarterback in this game, but Jets fans wish he hadn't.
The Jets can't get things into gear until Breece Hall does his best Saquon Barkley impersonation and scores 2 TDs in a row, giving the Jets some life. The rest of the team wakes up and turns this stinker into a great back and forth. Anthony Richardson upsets the bag-wearing Jets fans with his second rushing touchdown of the game with 46 seconds remaining, and there is no 2-minute drill from Aaron Rodgers as the Colts win 28-27.
The Vikings at the Titans. Sam Darnold continues his redemption tour,
spreading the ball around to 9 different receivers as he provides hope for all the underperforming first-round QBs in the league. Meanwhile, Will Levis spreads the ball around to 10 different receivers. Unfortunately, one of them played for the Vikings, as Sam Darnold provides him hope for his future prospects.
Minnesota mops the floor with Levis and friends. The final score doesn't reflect that, as the ragtag Titans get lucky on a 98-yard TD to pad those numbers as Minnesota wins 23-13.
The Raiders at the Dolphins. The Raiders have now given Shedeur Sanders 8 reasons to thank God, as they have as many players run the ball as they have catch the ball, as Jacoby Myers is their leading rusher with 20 yards, and Brock Bowers is the only player worth throwing the ball to. Meanwhile, the Dolphins play well behind an efficient game from Tua and strong games from Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane and Tyreek Hill.
In the battle of long drives, Miami takes a first half lead of 10-6 as each team gets 2 full drives in the first half only. The second half consisted of trading touchdowns with 5 TD drives in a row. Unfortunately for the Raiders, they break the cycle on the first play as they throw a vital pick, which proves to be the nail in the coffin for Vegas as Miami wins 34-19.
The Packers at the Bears. Jordan Love has an almost perfect game sullied by an interception, as it only takes 13 completions to reach 260 yards, but efficiency without volume doesn't equal a lot of points. Meanwhile, the Bears see Caleb Williams have one of his best games of his young career, thrown down the pooper yet again in the waning moments of the fourth quarter.
Now we're talking! This long-lasting rivalry was once again hard-fought, with the Packers and the Bears trading blows, mostly defensive as points were certainly at a premium. Green Bay scores the go-ahead touchdown with 3 minutes left and fail the 2-point try as the Bears move the ball down the field and set themselves up for the game-winning field goal. Who did it better, Green Bay or Kansas City, as the Pack blocks the game winner? 1 to stun Chicago. Green Bay 20, Chicago 19.
The Falcons at the Broncos. Another week has that 500-yard game by Kirk Cousins seeming farther and farther away, as the Falcons coaches might want to consider running the ball with Bijan more than 12 times if they're interested in winning football games. Meanwhile, Bo Nix is balling, as he becomes the odds-on favorite for O'Roy by throwing for 28 of 33, 307 yards, and 4 touchdowns in what is a complete rout of the Falcons.
Who looks better, Bo Nix or the Broncos D? Ayo! Well, both looked way better than Atlanta's entire squad as the Falcons bench Kirk Cousins in this shellacking. Denver 38, Atlanta 6.
And we have some breaking news.
We do.
The Jets fired GM Joe Douglas 1 minute ago. Or, I don't know how long ago he got fired.
It was like 90 seconds ago.
Wow.
He just texted me.
Oh, damn.
He's asking to join
Is he
the
coming
podcast.
over? He is?
Yeah,
All right,
but
all
I told him no because he makes bad decisions.
Kind of whack. Wow. Not overly surprised.
Yeah.
But back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Move on.
The Seahawks at the 49ers. Geno Smith wasn't good, wasn't bad, just kind of was. While JSN and DK were the reason he wasn't bad, and the lack of a running game probably contributed to why he wasn't good. But football is about making the right plays at the right time, and the Seahawks were able to do just that. Meanwhile, Kyle Shanahan might be one of the best offensive minds in football, but just because you're a good coordinator doesn't make you a good head coach.
Geno Smith gets his stripes as he dissects the San Francisco defense on 11 plays in a 2.5 minute as he runs himself in with 12 seconds left to pull this one off 20-17.
The Chiefs at the Bills. The worst 9-0 team in history finally played a good opponent, and Mahomes continues to underperform without Hall of Fame receivers to help him out. Meanwhile, Josh Allen continues to show that he's probably overrated, which is a good thing for Bills fans since the team can still beat the class of the AFC without him playing his best.
Finally, Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes in fantasy, and now Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes in reality as the Bills beat the Chiefs 30-21.
The Bengals at the Chargers. Joe Burrow is a machine. This man threw for another 356 yards and 3 touchdowns. However, this time it was on 50 attempts and just 28 completions for just a 56% completion rate. But it meant a huge game for T. Higgins, a good game for Jamar Chase, and over 45 receiving yards for 4 different players. So they won, right? Right? Well, meanwhile, Justin Herbert and the Chargers went crazy in the first half with touchdowns by J.K. Dobbins, Will Dissly, and Quentin Johnson to go up big 24-6 at the half.
24? No. Was
It was 24.
Yeah. All right. But a slow second half meant it'd take a second Dobbins TD with 18 seconds left for the win.
LA holds a 27-6 lead in the third quarter as Burrow finally arrives to the game late and throws 3 consecutive touchdowns to get right back into it. Evan McPherson follows that up with 2 consecutive missed field goals, and J.K. Dobbins spoils Cincinnati's comeback, handling them the most brutal loss of 34-27.
That was a good week.
What about last night?
Oh. Next page.
My bad. My bad. The Texans at the Cowboys. C.J. Stroud has come down to earth in his second season, but he played well outside of a pick. But Nico and Tank led the team with 4 receptions for 54 yards each, as this game was about the passing game and defense setting Joe Mixon up to run it in. Meanwhile, the Cowboys show some fight at first, before Cooper Rush shows his faults, and the ball just isn't bouncing their way.
Joe Mixon beats the Cowboys 21-10, and Houston beats the Cowboys 34-10 in this rout.
Injury list.
Well, who's on the mend?
Well,
A lot of people are back, but it looks like Isaiah Pacheco is getting ready to come back.
I heard so.
Probably this week.
I heard good news about that.
You heard good news or you heard news?
Well, I think it's good for everyone. I think it's good for Colin, being that he's going to get Pacheco back, but I think it's good for everyone else because it looks like Pacheco's not going to get that bulk of the carries that he was receiving earlier in the season of last year. So.
Okay, I'll take
think
that.
Kareem gets a
not good
complimentary role?
not good for Sean because he's got Kareem, but he knew this was coming, so it's not a surprise either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's thinking it's going to be a committee at least up until the playoffs. So not great for owners of either, but good if you're playing them.
And if you look at the Chiefs, they'll probably, slow his pace back into it until the actual NFL playoffs. So maybe through the fantasy season, because if you think about it, Pacheco runs harder than anyone. I mean, he leaves indents in the ground when he runs. He is mad at the turf. Like he puts his feet down so hard that of course he's going to injure himself. So they need to slow him back just for all of our sake.
Yeah.
Right?
We'll see. I feel like that's what you always hope for, and then they give him like 30 carries.
Yeah. We'll see.
So then we've got Mike Evans will probably be back this week. He's on the wrong side of 30, and hamstring injuries for wide receivers who are over 30 remain an injury risk. But I do feel like sports science is at a really good place, and so we'll see. But he should be back, and he's the only receiving threat on the team.
Boy, dude,
that's not a tight end or running back.
Do the Buccaneers need him?
I mean, not really.
Well, I mean,
they almost beat the Chiefs.
Exactly.
But yeah, he'll definitely
they're
help
a good
out
team.
a lot.
They're a good team. With him, they're a great team.
True. Trevor Lawrence did not get surgery, at least not yet.
Nice.
So it's his non-throwing shoulder. So there is a chance that he could come back, like maybe next week.
Good news for Brian Thomas,
Yep,
Evan Ingram.
Not
even
so
for
much Etienne.
Gabe, not so much Gabe Davis. Though.
Well, he's out for the season. So.
Oh, he is?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
Aw.
So Gabe Davis.
So he's just
out
going to
for the
get
season.
zeros for the rest of the year instead of getting zeros and maybe 120?
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, good. You know what?
Exactly.
Good riddance, Gabe Davis. I hope you mend
You're
and
a
heal
jerk.
nice. I am a jerk. I don't know why I don't like you, man.
Because you've rostered him too many times.
Just once, accidentally.
So then we have Keon Coleman. He still is suffering from his wrist injury. So leaning towards, I think they're on bye this week. So I think leaning towards coming back next week or week 14. It's a little bit longer than expected, but you never know how it goes with those. So now we have Darnell Mooney. He has a hamstring injury and a mild Achilles sprain. It shouldn't aggravate anything, one or the other. So it averaged out about 2 weeks. I believe that they're on bye this week or next week. No,
they're not. They're done with their bye. The Bears? I'm sorry,
no,
the Falcons.
Darnell Mooney's
Yeah,
the Falcons,
my bad.
So
I'm thinking,
I believe that he's looking at coming back. I think they're on bye week 13. Okay. So I think that you're looking at him coming back week 14. Dalton Kincaid.
Oh, I told you. You said it wasn't a big deal.
You were right.
And
I was wrong.
right?
And Laporta. They are both out for a couple weeks. Dalton Kincaid has a bye this week, but will likely be back next week. But there's a chance that he misses next week and will be back week 14. And then we've got Sam Laporta, who is likely back this week, but it's an AC sprain, so it kind of depends on how he can take the pain once he gets shot up with a little Toradol.
And Detroit's dominating, so you could easily see them hold him out another week.
Yeah. So he might be back this week. Just check the practice report. Then we've got Tank Bigsby, who looks like he re-aggravated his ankle injury. So he might be out for a couple more weeks, might not be back till week 14. And then an update on JJ McCarthy, who had a meniscus tear. So if you're a Vikings fan, there's still swelling in his knee. So that the concern for the meniscus is that it didn't repair fully. He's most likely going to be fully healed for the start of the 25 season, but it's a little bit more risky now. So if you are a Vikings fan, not good news. For all the other injured people like Dak Prescott, they're mostly expected to be back week 1. But I don't think people care very much about that.
Now I have another one to add once again, and it's another keeper tight end, George Kittle, who actually missed this week. What's the deal with him? Do you know what's up with him?
So what I saw was that he was a day-to-day, basically game time decision for this week. So the expectation is that he'll be back next week.
Yeah. I guarantee he'll be back next week because they could have used him and they just lost to a divisional opponent. And I'm sure he was on the freaking sideline, like pulling his hair out of his head. Yeah. There's a lot of it, so he can do that.
So that's kind of the problem with the 49ers these days is those guys are older and often hurt.
Yeah. Damn. Well, I'm glad there's not too much new injuries to add to this list.
Yeah, not a ton. The stuff that didn't get mentioned that like is technically there is kind of short term, day to day.
Perfect.
So
good.
Yeah,
I like when the segment's short.
Right?
Good. All right. Next, we'll move up to our matchup results for Put It in the Air.
All right. So this week we had East Coast Virus versus the Auto Draftees. East Coast Virus, our vaunted host, had his best game of the season at the right time
Thank you
to
very
take down the Auto Draftees. 168.82 to 141.68. Propelled by huge games from Amon-Ra with 38.7, Tua with 23.52, JSN with 21.8, and J.K. Dobbins with 18.9, only 2 starters dipped below 10 points. Meanwhile, the auto draftees had a solid week, but his top scorer was Justin Herbert with 24.38 on Sunday night, followed by 23 from Josh Jacobs and twin 19.1s for Tyreek Hill and David Njoku. In the end, the loss puts Brendan in the driver's seat for a playoff spot, as Frank is looking in from the outside, having to do some work to climb back in.
Wow. What a story.
That was a timely win for you, my friend.
Yeah, it was. On the other hand, Punks and Drublick versus the Milfuckers.
Ay, ay, ay.
Thursday Night Football, a matchup for top dogs in the NFC East, looked good for Philly in fantasy and reality as Punks hit the 25 mark with Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith early in the second half. The Milfuckers only had a single catch from their tight end filler Zach Ertz, who was filling in for the stud Trey McBride on his bye week. Well, the garbage man can, and on Washington's final drive, Zach Ertz is the man, as he catches 4 balls on 5 targets for 22 yards and a touchdown, sprinkle a toe tap 2-pointer that gets confirmed upon review, and Ertz dominates for Scott, finishing with 18.7. Ouch.
It makes me remember why I hate fantasy football.
Well, Brock Purdy, David Montgomery, and Khalil Shakir led the way Sunday as the MILFs took control of this matchup into Sunday night as Pascal watched T. Higgins and the Los Angeles Chargers defense go for a combined 32.8, mostly due to T. Higgins' 29.8. Punks would have had a shot in this one if he didn't see lackluster performances by Audric Estime with 5.5 and Kyle Pitts with 1 catch for 9 yards. Whoa. Coming into Monday night, Punks down by about 35 had CeeDee Lamb against the fuckers Rico Dowdle. Scoring so many fantasy points seems now to be well out of the Cowboys' range as their season and the Punks are on life support. Milfuckers 140.16, Punks and Drublick 119.04.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Yeah. Sorry to see it. I mean, 2 of my top running backs were on bye, so kind of what happened.
T. Higgins put the nail in the coffin, man.
Yeah, fucked my shit. All right. Catch this fade versus I fucks your mom. In this route, Catch this fade was never worried as he cruised to a win against I fucks your mom 152.08 to 108.24. I fucks was saved from a double-digit score by a monster 33.8 from Saquon, as his jab to Giants fans in the chat was the only source of satisfaction for a lackluster weekend. The next highest scores were 13.44 for Jaden Daniels, 13.3 for Najee Harris, 12 for Cameron Dicker, and 11.9 for Zay Flowers, as the rest of his starters fell below 10 points. Starting Jerry Jeudy's 26.2 points would have made him feel better, but wouldn't have helped. Meanwhile, CTF continues to wield his shrewdly constructed roster to maximum effect as he maintains his hold on first place, getting 28.78 from waiver wire pickup Bo Nix led the way, as only 2 players and his defense scored below 12 points, and only his kicker scored below 14.
It's all right.
Yeah. I needed more words to make that make sense. And only his kicker scored below 14 otherwise. Another strong week for number 1, but he'll need to continue winning to maintain that hold, as second place is keeping pace, whereas Aggie falls to 6-5 and his hold on the playoffs maintains, but gets less sure.
Nice. Brooklyn, Boston Bulldogs versus Steal Your Face Mask. He did live in Brooklyn with me. I lived in
Yeah.
Brooklyn. It's true. All right, the Boston Bulldogs versus Steal Your Face Max. What happens when Baker Mayfield and Marvin Harrison go on bye? Well, Dollar Bill's team looks like a rental on clearance as Steal Your Face Mask's best player is newly acquired MVS on 2 receptions. Good thing for that 71-yard touchdown. Ritberg and the Boston Bulldogs get a mid-November gift as Breece Hall looks back to his normal rumbling, stumbling self, putting up 31.1. Billy's team looked like it was learning how to count to 10 as almost every player stayed down below in single digits, with 8 points for Kyron, 7 for both Jonathan Taylor and Amari Cooper, 6 from Tyler Bass, 5 from Garrett Wilson, 1 from the Kansas City defense, and a big old goose egg from Deontay Johnson. The Boston Bulldogs, a.k.a. the Washington Commanders, that's right, look it up, seal the victory with solid fantasy days from Austin Eckler, Patrick Mahomes, and DeAndre Swift as the Bulldogs pull this one off 118.24 to 78.58.
Yuck. Don't worry, Bill. Most of us have been there with you.
We have.
G-Men's Crusaders versus Captain Cannabis. In our closest game of the week, G-Men's Crusaders barely loses to a strong showing from our last place team, Captain Cannabis, as the captain wins 143.08 to 139.84. G-Men's saw a well-rounded effort where only 2 starters fell below 10 points, and he got strong showings from Jawan Jennings with 25.1, Chase Brown with 19.3, Will Disley with 18, and Brian Robinson with 14.2. His fatal flaw, however, was leaving Jared Goff's 34.58 on the bench and starting Geno Smith instead for 15.74. Meanwhile, Captain Cannabis secured his second win by starting players who either scored more than 18 or scored 9 or less. Huge games from Cooper Kupp with 28.6 and Puka Nacua with 25.3, and really good games from Josh Allen with 23.98 and Ladd McConkey with 18.3, along with okay games from everyone else, propelled the captain to double his previous win total. With the win, Sean puts pressure on Frank and me to get wins or risk falling to last place, and has an outside chance at making the playoffs, but needs help, while Baba risks falling out of the playoffs if Frank, Colin, or I can get a win streak.
Ooh, it's getting spicy.
Yeah, it's getting real close here.
The final match of the week where Great faces off against Salute Your Short Fellows. The Short Fellows got off to an early start with 2 Thursday night starts of Terry McLaurin and whoever's kicking for Washington this week. All good. Mike has them all on his roster. Well, a disappointing 6 total points Thursday night sets Mike up for what would prove to be a tough week of fantasy. His roster construction certainly didn't do him any favors as Mike started both CMC and Jordan Mason as his starting running backs. I guess he looked at Pascal's Tampa Bay setup and thought, why not me? Well, they do better than this Thursday night combo, but only put up a collective 15.9. Other than CMC, Mike had horrific performances by each player. As for Colin, well, great. As he goes off and doesn't look back. With his worst performance coming from 10.8s from Jalen Warren, it looked to be a week to remember for McCree as he gets 19 from the Houston defense. And Josh Downs, 24 from Chris Boswell, 26 from Jamar Chase, 29 from Joe Burrow, 31 from Brock Bowers, and 35 from Joe Mixon. Otherwise, he puts up 28 points in the flex and shatters the 2024 top score, banking second overall top score in our illustrious history. Believe it or not, but Salute Your Short Fellows had the top scorer in this matchup as Taysom Hill stuffs the stat sheets and finishes with 41.52. Whoa. What's even more impressive is Mike didn't even break 100 with a performance like that. Yikes. Colin steamrolls in this one. The short fellows would like to put behind them 223.64 to 97.8. Damn. Killed it.
That is probably the worst loss we're ever going to see in this league.
It was probably the biggest win for sure.
Yeah.
And Colin went into Monday Night Football with like 190, I think, or 180 something.
No. He was in like the 170s, 180s because he put up 50 points between Mixon and
That's true. He put up
and
35 with
defense.
Mixon and the kicker. The
No,
defense.
the
They put 19.
Yeah. So he put up 54 points between the two of
So
them.
he was at like 170
And
something.
At one point, we weren't sure if he was going to break my top score
Of 200.12.
So he was probably around 170. No, he was at like 170, 165.
Yeah, 168, I think.
Yeah. So
Damn. And he just, I mean, of course Houston gets a defensive touchdown. Of course
I
Joe
know,
Mixon
right?
scores 2 first quarter touchdowns and then
Right.
gets one at the end of the game to really seal
I was
the deal.
joking around that, like, if Mixon fumbles the ball for a defensive touchdown to the Cowboys, then he wouldn't beat my top score, and it went the other way.
And it went the other way for sure. Yeah, I had such a great fantasy week across my 3 leagues, even one in basketball. But man, if I played Colin this week, I would not be feeling that good. To get beat by like 60 when you put up 160 or 170,
I know,
damn,
man.
dude.
But see, luckily for the football gods' point of view, like, they put him against one of the lowest scorers of the week, which is kind of how it should go.
Yeah,
Like, for the rest of us.
yeah,
Like,
it would have been
for,
frustrating.
For Colin, he kind of wants to play the top score,
Yeah.
just because optically it looks better for his points against.
For sure.
But the rest of us, like, no, you should have played Billy this week. That
Yeah.
would have really been.
Oh, that would have been great.
ideal.
Yeah. If he played Marv or myself, I think we were the next top 2 scorers. Oh, it would be brutal.
Even Scott, who put up 140. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Marv
that's
put
rough.
up 150, and
Yeah.
Colin would have beaten him by almost 75 points.
I know.
That's insane. Dude.
I mean, he scored. No, the point differential was more than like 5 teams scored this week. Period.
Insanity. Good job, Colin. You finally had that week you've been studying for, and you killed it.
I mean, 2 weeks in a row. You got to give him his.
Oh,
his
for
props.
sure. He gets his flowers, and don't worry, the $25 will come in stacks.
And by stacks, he means 8
All-
months from now.
All 3 of them, actually, that I haven't paid him yet.
Yeah, right.
So don't worry, Colin, you get that 75 shortly. Wow, dude. This week, however, looking at your roster construction because of the buys and the things going on, it's looking more down to earth.
And the other thing is that, like, it's great to get the top score. It's great to get the $25, but it sucks for your team to peak during the regular season. When Billy got the top score ever, it was in week 16. Perfect timing for that,
Yeah.
right? He's got to hope that he can keep it up because he's still not even in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
The
it looks
bet-
good. It looks good. You get your $25, but you got to be crossing them fingers that things lay out right for you the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think things are working in his favor, and his construction of his team is really coming together. He's done really well. I mean,
Yeah.
you'll hear
He's
his name
strong.
throughout the episode today. Moving along, you'll probably hear his name in this segment
A couple times.
a few times. Superlative rundown. All right, guys. So the superlative rundown for the week. Top quarterback of the league this week goes to Babalu's benched player, Jared Goff, who put up 34.58 points a week after throwing 5 interceptions. The dude is a beast.
I feel like that's like what happened with you and Kyler. He went for four points one week, and then you benched him, and he put up like 30
Yeah.
the next week.
Yeah, I prematurely benched him to his bye week, and shouldn't have done that because then I'd be even higher in the rankings if not.
Yeah.
The top running back of the week goes
So
to
would Baba.
yeah, that's true. Well, top running back goes to greats Joe Mixon, who puts up 35.3 fantasy points last night in a 3-touchdown, over 100-yard performance.
A performance that we were kept up to date on through text message
Oh,
from
yes.
Colin in real time every time it went up.
He actually scored. He scored so many touchdowns that Colin didn't even get a chance to send the first touchdown update. We got it in the second, but kudos to him.
Thank you, Colin, for making sure that we kept up with your team.
Wide receiver of the week goes to the stack. Remember when it was the Bengals, Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase? Well, this time it's Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yeah, you like
Shout
that
it
one,
out. I
didn't you?
love it. I love it. 38.7 points. Got him in 2 leagues, and I have the stack of Goff and Amon-Ra in Jay's league, which
Nice.
was awesome. Tight end of the week. I don't think we'll see numbers like this from a tight end again. 41.52 from Taysom Hill. Longfellow, kudos to starting him. And Julia also started him. She picked him up this week in
nice.
place of Sam Laporta, who was injured, on waivers. Started him.
I hope she's getting a nice slap box.
Well, you'll see.
right, all right.
Here's the funny part. Longfellow started Taysom Hill and put up 97.
Yeah. woof.
Julia started Taysom Hill and put up 197.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
All right.
Then we have kicker of the week goes to none other than Pittsburgh Steelers, Chris Boswell, who puts up 24. Colin, you enjoyed that. Julia also had a him, which elevated her as well.
Yeah.
And the defense of the week goes to, again, great Houston
Surprising
Texans.
he's all over this list, huh?
Surprising. They put
Yeah.
up 19 fantasy points. And, we might hear his name again in another segment later. We'll
Maybe
just move on.
like right now or later
Yeah.
in another segment,
La-
but also
now, later.
right now
later.
for largest margin of victory.
Who was it? Was it Aggie?
It goes to
Great.
for destroying Salute Your Short Fellows by more points than 5 teams scored this week,
Damn.
winning by 125.84 points.
I wonder if Colin is like wondering if he can carry some points over.
With a final score of 223.64 to 97.8.
Woo!
Next, our closest matchup was Captain Cannabis squeaking by G-Men's Crusaders by 3.24 points, scoring 143.08 to 139.84.
That was a true matchup. That
was a good one.
Sean's name was on it, then Baba's name was on it, and he started coming back, and then he ran away with it, and then Sean somehow came
I
back.
have to
and
say
won
that,
it.
like, honestly, both of them deserved this game exactly. Baba deserved to lose a close one where he scored a lot, and Sean deserved to win a close one where he scored a lot. So
Yeah.
I feel like this was the most appropriate outcome of the week.
Yeah.
Now, give them their flowers and $25
Right.
for putting up the top score of the year and second top score in a row with 223.64. This is the most points scored in a week since Dollar Bill's Destroyers put up 226.32 in week 16 of 2019 and marks the second highest score of all time. Kudos, my friend. Kudos.
I wonder who he beat in that game.
Oh, that's a good question.
Because it wasn't
It was the playoffs.
It was the semifinals. So he made the
No,
finals that year.
It was the finals.
Oh, because we
it
had
was week 16 out of 17.
Yeah.
That was
Now-
before the 17-game season.
That's true. Yeah. Oh wow. So
Yeah.
he won the championship with
Yeah,
that performance.
with that
It
performance.
wasn't against me. I could tell you that.
Yeah, wasn't against me either. I don't make it that far.
And let's talk about what
And
smells.
so the wet fart of the week is appropriately our buddy Dollar Bill as he poops on the mic with his new name, Steal Your Face Mask, by putting up a putrid
Putrid.
78.58 points. you gotta hope, Dollar Bill, that this is not foretelling the next few weeks for you. Because if you put up a week like this in the first round of the playoffs, you'll be watching it with me, most likely, because I don't know if I'm making it.
There was bubbles and flies and little smell lines moving in the air.
Yeah.
And, it almost is like he threw the game.
Almost. Except he started all his superstars. So it's almost like his superstars knew he was wanting to lose. I don't know, man.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wet fart, man.
Yuck.
That one's going to leave a stain.
Yep. Wash your sheets.
Wash them. All right, guys, moving on. Oh! Slam dunk.
Oh, yeah.
Touchdown.
Yeah.
The
yeah,
keeper
mother
alert.
sucker.
All right, guys. So the keeper alert. Quick injury window. Isaiah Pacheco still out since week 2. Maybe we'll see him back this week. Brandon Ayuk out since week 7, and he's going to be out into next year. Dalton Kincaid, Sam Laporta, and George Kittle all missed this week. Let's see if they come back. Dalton's going to have an extra week of rest. And this week, the only injured player of the keepers was Brock Purdy, but it looks like it was just shoulder soreness. So maybe he just needed a little break and a little iced shoulder. The only bench keepers this week were Raheem Mostert, who put up negative 0.2 points. So great
Good job.
call on that. You still
Well
lost, but great call on
Yeah.
that.
Maybe don't keep him next year.
Yeah.
But maybe do.
We still only have 2 traded keepers of Dalton Kincaid and Mark Andrews. We had 2 keepers on bye, being Kyler Murray and Rashad White. And the keeper of the week goes to the Boston Bulldogs, Breece Hall, with 31.1 fantasy points. Now let's hear Pascal go over the winners.
Starting with Boston Bulldogs.
You win.
With Breece Hall putting up 31.1 as compared to 17.6 expected, and Dalton Kincaid hurt, putting up nothing because he was hurt, for a total of 13.5 over expected.
Okay.
Good job on that trade. Kind of.
For him.
Kind of. Next, we have the MILF Fuckers.
You win.
With Brock Purdy putting up 18.4 as compared to 18.5 expected, and Drake London putting up 9.1 as compared to 15.4 expected, for 6 points under expectation.
Yikes. You still win.
Next, we have Catch This Fade.
You win.
Putting up 19.7 as compared to 12.8 expected, with James Cook and Nico Collins. Collins putting up 9.4 as compared to 16.7 expected.
Whoa.
For 0.4 under expectation.
Then again, if they didn't have the first play of the game in a legal formation, Nico Collins went for like a 70-yard touchdown pass on the first play and would have blown out his 9 points.
Yeah. Next, we have East Coast Virus.
I win.
With Kyler Murray on bye and Mark Andrews no longer on his team, putting up 4.2 as compared to 9.5 expected, for negative 5.3 under expectation.
Ooh.
Double negative. I didn't mean it like that. Next, we have Captain Cannabis.
You win, finally.
With Puka Nakua putting up 25.3 over his 15.7 expected.
Damn.
For 9.6 over expectation. And we have
Great. You win.
with both of his players, Brandon Ayuk and Isaiah Pacheco, on IR. So I think that looking at how our keepers are doing, our keepers really do not have very much to do with whether we win or lose. They can provide some big numbers sometimes,
Yeah.
but overall, it has so much more to do with how we drafted and how we played the waiver wire.
that's true.
So
It does play a role. However, it doesn't play such a tremendous role that if you have the best keepers like Billy did,
Right.
you're going to be in first place. Because Billy's not.
Right.
He's good. He's doing well.
it's more of a season-wide thing, and Billy got really lucky basically getting two of the top players in the league last year at points that no one would have really known what they were going to give you.
And someone like
so-
Aggie has such a hit or miss with Debo and Zay Flowers. Like one week they'll both put up 25, and the next week they'll both put up like 4. So
And you've got like Colin, who both of his players are on IR,
And he's putting up
in that
224.
time he put up the top score 3 times.
yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah, it is all about your foundational draft added on with the way you play the game with waivers and pickups and trades. Just a reminder, trade deadline this Thursday, so get them in, man. I know a lot of people are talking about trades, but who's going to actually make the move?
So tell me, how did it look for the losers?
Oh, the losers, yes. Oh, yeah. The losers. So, first off, we have I Fucks Your Mom.
Ya loser.
With Zay Flowers, who put up 11.92 under his projection, and Debo Samuel, who only put up 6.17.5 under his projection to finish 9.5 under projection. Next, we have Punks in Drublick.
I'm a loser.
With Devon Achan putting up 20.5, 3 points over his projected value, and Rashad White on bye. Pascal finishes with 3 over projections. And the next team, we have Steal Your Face Mask,
Ya loser.
who had a rough week with Jonathan Taylor putting up only 7.5 under his projection, and Kyler Williams putting up only 8.68 points under his projection, leaving him with 15.5 under his keeper projections. The next team on the list of losers is the Auto Draftees,
Ya loser.
with Alvin Kamara, who puts up 12.9, but still 7 under his projection, and DJ Moore, who put up 13.7, which is 3.5 over his projection, leaving Frank 3.5 in the hole. The next team we have is the G-Men's Crusaders,
Ya loser.
with Raheem Mostert scoring negative 0.2, which is 7 points under his projection, and Sam Laporta out with injury, finishing with 7 points under projection. And finally, we have Salute Your Short Fellows,
Ya loser.
who puts up CJ Stroud with 10.88, 4.5 under his projected value, and George Kittle also out with injury. Longfellow finishes with 4.5 under projection. Pretty good week for the losers. Better week for the winners.
Was it that 1, 2? Yeah, no, we got some negatives. I don't know, bro. That was pretty bad.
Well, I think it needs to be said that the winners did better than the losers. That's really what it just says. I think that's sorry. Moving on.
Anyway.
Drain out.
Let's just keep it moving.
So, who are you in on, out on? And let's start with your trade away candidates.
So this week I actually did it a little bit differently.
Good.
Okay. I don't have individual players. It's more so how people should be looking at this time of the year with the trading block coming up very soon.
Okay.
So I'll start with teams that are in the playoffs. If you are in the playoffs, you should be thinking about trading away any keeper value you have that won't help you in the actual playoffs for a player that will. I'll bring up a good example of that when we talk about the trading block.
Okay.
Because I was faced with one of those decisions myself just today before we got on the air. And so I'm going to go over that and kind of explain the reasoning and all of that.
Well, Marv was faced with that.
Well, no, we both were, I guess, technically.
I was just making a joke because he's definitely in the playoffs, and you're currently out.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. I'm tired, y'all.
It's all good.
So Marv was faced with that today. But we'll get to that.
All right, my first tradeaway candidate goes to none other than the stat stuffer Taysom Hill. Tight ends are at a premium. Mike had a bomb week from Taysom Hill, but let's remember who he is.
And
He
the
is
rest of
Taysom
his
Hill.
team bombed.
He's like Gabe Davis for tight ends times 2.
Ooh, come on. He's better than that.
He is better than that.
Yeah.
But he dominated. It would be good to see, him move to another team. Not to say that he's,
Maybe get like 10 to 15 touches every game.
True. Or you could trade him and fill in that running back hole that you're trying to just so direly fill.
Yeah.
Mike's in trouble in the running back room. The CMC Jordan Mason experiment blew up in his face, and now he's got James Conner, I think. Or no, is that Babalu? No, I think his other running back. Either way, as you look that up, we'll just say that it's not anyone that's too exciting.
Yeah, he's got James Conner, Christian McCaffrey.
He does have McConnor. Okay.
Yeah.
McConnor.
McConnor. He's got
So
and
Irish.
CMC, but he does have Jonathan Brooks.
Okay.
Right? Who they said that they're going to give him significant carries, start getting him rounded out.
But going
he's gonna
into
and Jordan Mason, like
going into the playoffs, Mike, you're going to need something more. So why don't you shop Taysom Hill and look for that something? I'm not saying to shop him to me, but I would be interested in talking.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, his team is pretty hit or miss. You could package something and get like a top tier player for sure.
yeah. Anytime a player scores 40 that's not expected to score nearly 40 is a good time to trade him away.
Sure. So the other group that I'm looking at are the people that are out of the playoffs.
Yes, that.
Naturally. So if you're out of the playoffs like me, you should be looking to trade away a high draft pick like CeeDee Lamb for a pick that might not help you get into the playoffs for a player with keeper value next year who can still perform this year. CeeDee Lamb, listen, he put up 18 with Cooper Rush, so it's not like he's not helping, but there's a very good chance that next game he puts up like 10.
He became Cortland Sutton.
Kind
Basically.
of. And so it's worth it to look at someone who might have really good keeper value from someone who's in the playoffs right now. I like where I'm sitting with Rashee Rice, but like if I traded like CD and Rashee for like someone with crazy keeper value next year, like Kyron Williams or something like that, that might be a good thing to look at. And like I was talking about before, for someone like Billy, to be able to put someone like CD who could still put up between 15 and 25 for the rest of the season could really make him a force in the playoffs.
And he just gave up Cortland Sutton, so it'd be like filling that hole.
Right. Exactly.
It's so disrespectful to say that for CeeDee Lamb.
But considering
managers.
the fact that he just started Deontay Johnson to a goose egg,
double goose 2 in a row. I mean, welcome to Baltimore. It's not that plentiful over there.
Replacing him with CD Lamb in the lineup
Would be tremendous.
Could really make a difference.
Definitely. My other tradeaway candidate. Matter of fact, let me just run back real quick because you say in the playoffs and out of the playoffs, but technically even Sean in last place are still in the playoff hunt. So you don't want to discount yourself too hard.
Right.
So you still want to have some value back, which you said you could. Now, it would be great if the trade deadline was a little later in the season, but it's this Thursday, so you need to make these decisions now.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like, are you going to sell? Are you going to buy? Or are you just going to see if you could work something out that still could make both teams better for the rest of the season?
Yeah, exactly.
My other tradeaway candidate would be Bo Nix. Anybody who's kind of on a rocky situation with their quarterback, like I can't. Nobody's coming to mind like right off the bat, but any quarterback who's like, if I started Tua every week, he's kind of like hit or miss.
He's got Aggie. Aggie's got Jaden Daniels. Like I said
Jaden
earlier
Daniels,
in
perfect.
the episode, he has not put up great numbers 5 out of the last 6 weeks. And so...
And Bo Nix is coming to form. I mean, he's looking really good.
He had the third most points of any quarterback this week.
He's controlling the game.
The problem is Matthew Stafford is a free agent and he put up like 27 points.
True.
So why make a trade when you could just get someone off the waiver wire? But
Two
for
reasons.
Marvellis, you could add him into a trade, and maybe make it a 2-for-2, and he would provide more value. Maybe you get back someone else who is like a good backup or handcuff for the playoffs, something like that.
And there's two reasons why you would want Bo Nix over someone like Matt Stafford. He runs the ball. That's a huge fantasy value added into a quarterback. And his keeper value would be probably insane if he continues this for the rest of the season. Because I imagine he'll be one of those like 5th, 6th round, 7th round quarterbacks where you can get for a 10th rounder if you want to go that route.
I was thinking about keeping a quarterback, but I just don't think keepers make sense for quarterbacks, especially since now you've got at least 4 new running quarterbacks in Caleb, Jaden, Drake, and Bo, who next year are not going to be going too high. So like you're not really going to get a ton of value. You're better off just drafting who's available.
Well, I mean, there are certain quarterbacks that if you get value, like I had gotten Kyler for a 10th round pick this year. That's a huge value because then I was able to add tons of running backs and wide receivers in my roster. Scott kept Brock Purdy, and that's proved well for him to be able to construct a team that's actually putting up points. So it isn't the worst idea, but it really needs to be the right. You need to get like a 10th rounder for a quarterback.
I just
that's
see
gonna
like
go way
Marvellis taking Matthew Stafford and Bo Nix off the waiver wire, and I just don't see the value. But
that's true.
It's
okay,
it's it depends on who else you have as keepers for your team. Like maybe it is.
What about trade fours? What do you got for that? Are you kind of
that's just my trade
away and for?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you my 2 trade fours. You're gonna want to target Cortland Sutton, who is putting up numbers. He's the number 1 receiver over there. There's a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of new guys, Vele and what's that guy, Little Jordan, and there's another dude, a couple other guys actually. They have a good receiving core, but Cortland Sutton is the top dog. He moves. That guy's a
talking about Mims, the other receiver.
No, Mims also, but there's another rookie that is there.
Oh, okay.
I forgot his name, but it's all good. We'll learn him if he continues.
Yeah.
So Cortland Sutton, go get him if you can. I mean, Sean just did in our league, and I'm like seriously considering working out a package to get Cortland Sutton just because he's so solid. And now that when Sean listens, because he listens every week, he's going to hear this and then decline based on this fact. And then the other trade for is somebody that I'm pursuing currently. And this is probably going to come back to bite me in the butt now because this person does listen every week. Babalu with Chase Brown, the Bengals running back.
Yep.
This guy is just...
I've been thinking about it, but I didn't think that Baba would take anything that I was willing to give up. So
I sent him an offer of Ramondre Stevenson and J.K. Dobbins for Chase Brown and Brian Robinson, which kind of rounds out. Chase Brown's clearly the best rest of season value, but he said no, and he did offer me a rebuttal, but it didn't include Chase Brown, so I'm kind of like, that's
the
Brian
key to it
Robinson's
for you,
nice. Right? I like Brian Robinson too, so I kind of considered it.
You might want to think about maybe someone like Brian Thomas instead of...
He in his rebuttal, he asked for JSN and Dobbins for Robinson and Laporta.
Yeah.
So Laporta, I love Laporta, but his injury, current injury, and his season being such a flop, I've had so much bad luck with tight ends. Like I don't need to add another womp tight end to my team. So he asked for JSN. I said no. I asked for Chase Brown, and I said I'll do Chase Brown and Laporta for Dalton Kincaid and J.K. Dobbins. Or
that's basically a wash.
Yeah,
like, why even trade the tight ends?
I want to make waves, so that's why I tried to do the 2 running backs for 2 running backs to see what would happen. We'll see if we can work something out as we move on.
Yep.
Who's your straight drop, man?
So anyone that's not going to help you in the next 5 weeks and doesn't provide keeper value for next year, get rid of them.
So like backup kickers, the Washington third string kicker,
backup defenses, even
backup quarterbacks.
Even backup quarterbacks.
If they're not that great,
like
Tua.
I mean, backup quarterback, you can stream them, but like, if they haven't been doing it, get someone off waivers. Like I said, Matt Stafford is there, who can actually help you if your main guy goes down.
True.
But there's a lot of dead weight sitting on rosters. I think Jamal Williams is still on the roster. I think that Aggie still has Dalton. Cook,
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook, like really still. Get rid of these guys. Put them in free agency. Replace them with someone that is actually going to help.
Aggie must have a time machine where he goes back and looks at his lineup now and goes, look at all the guys I have washed. And my straight drop would be any Dallas Cowboy. Sorry, man. Even CD Lamb, I wouldn't drop CD Lamb. You know,
Yeah,
that's
you're
the only exception. But everyone else, Rico Dowdle, Tolbert, Ferguson,
Yeah,
anybody, the
Probably
kicker,
smart.
even.
I think
the
Ferguson
kicker
was hurt, so he might be worth keeping. And like
Ferguson played last night and got hurt.
Did he?
Yeah, he left the game with, I think, a concussion.
Cooper Rush, he threw the ball like 35 times, I think, or 45, like a lot. And so if that's how they're going to be playing, then
You might get those
There's
little like
volume there.
spurts of
but yeah, it kind of sucks to be a
you're
Cowboys owner.
you're just speaking as trying to sell off CDs.
No, I mean, yeah, maybe.
Like, there's a lot of targets to go around.
I was surprised he put up 18. Like, I didn't think it was going to happen.
He's got the skill, man.
Yeah.
They handed the ball to him too.
It
on
looked
end
like
arounds.
he was really, really not trying very hard. But maybe it's just how it
only
looks.
only his face on the sideline, being on the Dallas
And
Cowboys
on the field.
And on the
it's like,
oh yeah,
like
when the
Cooper
sun
Rush-
when the sun's in
Cooper
his
Rush
eyes.
almost threw like 3 picks to him, and on all 3 of the picks, he's kind of just like standing there looking at the ball, and it's just like, damn, bro, you really just don't care, do you?
It's funny. Well, I mean, even Brandon Aubrey, who was like
And
a
he's still
top
good.
5 kicker, you might want to consider even dropping him and trading him out for somebody because the Cowboys,
No.
they're not moving the ball. I mean, there's other kickers.
He hit a 63-yarder
Yes.
in this game that got negated by penalty.
Okay.
So no,
I'm
they're
not-
going to be able to move the
look.
ball into his range. I would not say
But
to
here's the
drop
thing.
him.
Here's the thing. I understand that, and I agree. And like I said, Brandon Aubrey, prior to Dak departing, was a top 5 kicker, even if he wasn't listed as so. He has that talent. He has the deep ball. He's pretty accurate. He's great. I wish the Giants had him. But the thing is with him is there's other kickers on offenses that move the ball every drive. So you want to have a kicker that's on a team that is not guaranteed to score, like the Detroit Lions, which they had
I don't
7 extra points.
Pretty
He only
much-
put up 10 points.
Pretty much guaranteed to hit 2 from 50 plus. That's already 10 points. So
That's not a guarantee, though. That's not a guarantee to me, though. I
pretty
mean,
much as any other kicker in the league.
there's probably 20 kickers in the league that are more valuable rest of season than Brandon Aubrey, based on
20?
Yes, based on Dallas's
I think you're bugging.
based on Dallas's issues right now. I really think so. I think they're just my bias trickles in. So.
Maybe. I my last thing on that is that I do think that the Texans have a really good defense, and if they're moving the ball on them, able to score some points. Again, like if there wasn't for that penalty on the field goal, Dallas would have been down by, was it 4 points or 10 or 7 points? I don't know. I don't know if I would take that advice.
I mean, they get to take the field, they get to like run plays, so of course they're going to get some yards and they're going to
their
get some
defense
points.
sucks, so they're on the field a lot.
That's true.
So.
Okay, so that's a good point. But I personally would rather have 20 other kickers.
Maybe.
That's just me.
I don't know who's on the waiver wire, so I can't really say.
I do because I keep
'Cause you keep
scanning it.
streaming?
Right now I have the
Yeah.
Dolphins. It's like it's all right.
Yeah.
But anyways,
So let me go to the trading block because
before you do, I want
you
to.
got another guy to straight drop.
I just want to ask you the straight drop question of the week.
Okay.
This is a good one,
Go
and it's
for
for
it.
2 very different reasons. All right, so fresh off a goose, each of these receivers, who would you prefer to straight drop if you had both of them on your roster? Deontay Johnson or Ricky Pearsall?
Ooh, that's a hard one. If you're talking about me myself right now,
If you had both of them on your roster and you just experienced a
I'm
double goose,
probably dropping
isn't that hard?
Deontay because the likelihood of him helping me anytime soon is low. Ricky had a good game, and I feel like I could trade him for some keeper value.
Or keep him as a keeper if
Well,
he
no, I wouldn't
erupts,
keep.
no?
I wouldn't keep him over Rashi Rice, and I wouldn't keep him over Devon A. Chain. So no, there's pretty much zero chance that I'm keeping him. But other people might need him, and so I might be able to package him with like a couple other players and get one of the top keepers for next year.
So Deontay is who you drop?
I think so.
It's a smart
if
answer.
I was in the playoffs, I think that I might look at like trading / dropping Pearsall, because I think that there's a bigger chance that Deontay becomes fantasy viable in the playoffs.
I think Billy can afford to have Deontay on his bench, and Longfellow is starting Pearsall every week because
Right.
maybe the Goose scared him away from that, but he might need to start him. So
Right.
I think Billy needs Deontay less than Longfellow needs Pearsall if you look at it as an actual
Right, as
situation.
their teams.
Yeah.
Right. And like I said, like you can probably package him with someone else who needs a keeper, a good keeper for next year, and they can put Pearsall as one of the group that they keep their eye on.
Yeah. You know who I'd drop if I had both of them on my team?
Who they?
Michael Pittman. So let's go forward. Let's go to the trading block,
All
ladies
right.
and gentlemen.
So I'm going to talk about a trade that was I mentioned before.
Okay.
Marvelous, catch this fade, offered me Chuba Hubbard and Malik Neighbors.
Yo, I thought he was off the board.
I thought he
Marv.
was too.
Couple dud games.
I mean,
What
it's
happened?
like 3 games in a row at like under 15 points. So I get it. And they just announced that they're gonna. The Giants just announced that they're gonna be benching Daniel Jones, which means that his Giants career is effectively over, because they do not want to get stuck with his injury guarantee, and that goes into effect this week. So they are going with Tommy DeVito.
I don't understand why Drew Lock gets beat out by DeVito.
Oh, I mean, that's like asking why I don't understand why like Brussels sprouts are chosen over broccoli. Like, people hate both. And so it's really just about your flavor. And
It's because Tommy Cutlets could sell more chicken sandwiches in the New York tri-state area than freaking Drew Lock can sell.
they're the ones in the practice room, so they got to think that he gives them a better chance at either getting a top overall pick.
Yeah, I think
so
that's
either
probably
he's
what it is.
worse than Drew Lock, or they actually think that he's the better quarterback and they don't want to lose the locker room. And so he's the better quarterback, so he gets the starting job. But either way, that means that Malik Neighbors, his outlook is really iffy. He wasn't playing that well with the better quarterback anyway. And so now, like, maybe he gets all the targets, but maybe he gets none of the targets.
Whoa, wait a sec. Did you just call Daniel Jones the better quarterback? That's
I
awesome.
mean, that says a lot about Tommy DeVito and Drew Lock. That's all that says. He's also the guy that just got benched.
Yeah.
And so he offered me Chuba Hubbard and Malik Neighbors for CeeDee Lamb
Okay. I saw that coming.
and Devon A. Chain.
Ooh.
And I
Ooh.
laughed at him and I said no.
Yeah, I would say no.
Devon
would
A.
say
Chain to me is worth way more than anyone on this list, just because of his keeper value, but also because he's putting up more points than anyone on this list.
I think like Justin Jefferson and Chuba Hubbard would be more accurate.
Maybe, but like I don't really see a lot of value in Justin Jefferson because I can't keep him as a keeper, and Chuba Hubbard, I'm not going to keep him as a keeper. Plus, Jonathan Brooks is coming back, so it's like that wouldn't really give me a lot of value. You got to take Achan out and put CD in with like someone who just makes sense. But even Malik Neighbors, at first I had offered him a counter of Chuba Hubbard and Malik Neighbors for Rashad White, CeeDee Lamb, and Rashi Rice, because I thought that Malik Neighbors was taken in like the 7th or 8th round. And then luckily someone I was talking to about it was like, are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
I'm raising my hand.
Yes, it was you. And I'm talking about it, and I'm like, hold on, where was he? He was taken 40th. That means that I'd be giving up a 3rd round pick for him. He might not even be a 1st round pick next year, depending on who their quarterback is. So I was like, you know what? I think I'd rather have Rashi Rice, even if he has an 8-game suspension, because when he comes back, he's still going to be Pat's number one target.
Yeah, he was
So-
looking electric before the injury.
Yeah, giving up Rashad White, CeeDee Lamb, and Rashee Rice was still too much value because I'm still trying to make the playoffs. And with Chuba Hubbard, who knows what it's going to look like with Jonathan Brooks? With Malik Neighbors, who knows what it's going to look like with Danny DeVito?
What if Chuba Hubbard goes to like somewhere that doesn't really have a good run game, like the Giants or something like that?
I
Like,
still wouldn't take him over Rashee Rice. I don't think.
interesting.
Yeah.
In terms of the trade block, thanks for sharing that. There was a second trade. Thank you guys for finally like making some sort of agreement and working this out. Although it did seem a little strange that when this trade came across my screen, I know I talked to some of the other members that were
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it's so weird. It's so one-sided." And I'm like, "No, it makes sense for both teams."
Kind of. It definitely is one-sided.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think it makes sense because so Billy gets Baker Mayfield and Deontay Johnson. All right, yeah, Deontay Johnson goose twice in a row. Okay, big deal. He just moved to Baltimore. You got to let him go. Plus, Billy has the Lamar Deontay Johnson stack if it means anything, which could be valuable.
It could.
And then he gets Baker Mayfield, who is he the number 2 quarterback in the league? 5 now after this week because he had a bye week. He's the number 5 quarterback in the league. Lamar's number 1. Billy has a week 14 bye with Lamar, who faces myself. I hope Baker sucks in week 14 because that's really the only reason he picked him up, unless Lamar gets hurt, of course.
Right.
He'll keep him as a backup. But Billy gives up Kareem Hunt, who's on the last leg of
he's about to be the backup running back.
backup running back or the 1B maybe, but the value is definitely going to take a hit. And then he gives up a valuable Cortland Sutton, who's, Billy scooped up off the waiver wire. I dropped him earlier in the season because he was my worst receiver. Turns out he wasn't. Really was Michael Pittman. But I made the wrong choice, dropped him. Billy picked him up, and he used him to his advantage to scoop up to fill some holes. So
Yeah.
I think it's a really good trade. It helps Sean now, and it helps Billy in the future. And
Yeah, I mean,
it's very
it could.
interesting.
I mean, I think that when I say that Sean definitely won the trade, I mean that in that he won the trade, like technically, but Cortland Sutton isn't a world changer, right? And Kareem Hunt is likely just a rental because he's probably going to take a back seat to Pacheco. If anything, like you said, they're going to be a tandem and probably not going to be putting up a ton of points. This week, he only put up 6 points.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. He only had
so
6
even without
points flat.
Pacheco playing, he only put up 6 points.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that like Sean is going to be gangbusters into the playoffs because of this.
He
But
could be.
I do think he won off of this trade because Billy got what he expects to be a 1 week rental with Baker, and then Deontay, who is a dart toss, right?
It's a gamble, but
he's shooting in
if
the
he
dark
hits,
with it. And if he hits, it'll probably be during the
be really
playoffs,
good.
and it'll probably do really well for him.
and he'll probably put up 226 in week 16. Luckily, there's a week 17.
But chances are that Deontay's not doing anything, so he probably lost this, but it doesn't really matter because he probably doesn't need either of those players on his team.
He was able to do it and to spend that much to get a buy filler for your quarterback. I mean, maybe after watching the quarterback performances this week, seeing the entire free agent list of quarterbacks head off, the top quarterbacks of the week. I mean, pretty much everybody that I was looking at to replace Kyler for his bye week. I kept Tua in just because he was playing the Vegas defense, who is just terrible against quarterbacks. But Matt Stafford, Bo Nix was picked up. Derek Carr did really well. There's a number of quarterbacks that just dominated this past week. Jameis Winston, even Drake May. I mean, Will Levis did all right. Everybody did all right. So it's very interesting to see this trade and see what happens as it unfolds. Hopefully we get a few more trades in, man, because we're right at the end. To update you on the trade with Jay and I, he's running away with it. Although Mark Andrews only put up 4.2, he got 16.4 out of DeAndre Swift, and I got nothing out of Kincaid, who has a knee injury, and nothing out of Olave, who has a brain injury.
Yeah, that's
so,
gotta hurt.
I mean,
I
probably
like
does.
literally and figuratively.
Yeah, it gives me a headache, I'll tell you that.
I bet.
So, guys, remember Thursday, I believe Thursday morning. So get your trades in by Wednesday night. It might be Thursday night. We might be gifted an extra 24 hours. I'm not sure. I'm not going to look it up. Just figure it out.
Yep.
Make
Get
your
'em in.
trades. And, Babalu, man, I'm sending you offers left and right. Let's work something out, dude. Let's do it.
Heard that.
We're both in the playoffs, man. Let's keep it going.
Heard that.
So let's move on to our next segment,
Yeah.
which is freshman football. So, Pascal,
This week, we had a bunch of people on bye and a bunch of people injured or just not catching anything.
yeah,
So, Marvin Harrison Jr., bye. Malik Neighbors, bye. Xavier Worthy, who I dropped and allowed for the person behind me to
Frank.
pick up, Frank, 16.8. But
Luckily-
Frank, watch out because that tends to be a 1 out of 4 week thing.
didn't he bench him this week? Or no, he played him against
Did he
me.
play him?
I think I'll to be continued.
Then we have Keon Coleman out with injury. Roma Dunze, 12.5.
Benched.
Lad McConkey, 18.3.
He's coming along.
Jaden Daniels, 13.4.
He's falling off.
Trey Benson, bye.
Bye.
Blake Corum, 3.8.
Doo-doo.
Brian Thomas Jr., 13.6.
Doo-doo for what he does.
Caleb Williams, 16.2.
Better.
Brock Bowers, 31.3.
Monster.
Ricky Pearsall, 0.
Yes.
Jordan Whittington, 0.
Goose.
Drake May, 17.98.
Reasonable.
Bo Nix, 28.78.
Nice. That's solid.
Spencer Rattler, 0.
Goose,
Xavier Leggett, 0. Ray Davis, 1.1.
Nice.
Bucky Irving, bye. Tyrone Tracy,
Bye.
0. Bye?
Yeah.
My bad.
It's all good. I know you mentioned that before. Hey, did Tracy get hurt? I was like, no,
Yeah.
he was on bye.
So our top scorers of the week were Brock Bowers with 31.3, Bo Nix with 28.78, and Lad McConkey with 18.3, with Drake May as our honorable mention with 17.98, just 3.02 points behind third place.
You love Drake May. You just talk about him whenever you get the chance. It's
Big
great.
Big fan.
We'll see how the future holds for him. The spotlight shines on somebody who only put up 13.8 this week, Brian Thomas Jr. This 6'3", 209-pound receiver was born in Walker, Louisiana, went to Walker High, went to college at LSU, true Louisiana boy. He went to LSU from 2021 to 2023. He led the FBS with 17 touchdowns last season in 2023 and was the second team All SEC. The Jaguars drafted him first round, 23rd overall, and he's been outperforming the best of them. East Coast Virus myself, yes, thank you very much. Drafted him in the 11th round, 126 overall, meaning if somebody offers me a well-rounded, good enough trade, then you can keep him for a 10th rounder. It's really going to cost you, though. He's played 11 games in the NFL so far and has 37 catches on 56 targets for 607 yards and 5 touchdowns, which is 16.4 yards per catch. That's insane. I mean, that's a lot of bombs. He's got 3 rushes for 15 yards, meaning that he just gets they think about him in the backfield once in a while for some trick plays. Brian Thomas Jr., one of our best highlighted receivers this year, given Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors a run for their money for sure. And Roma Dunze, let's not forget him.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people saying that their hot take was that Brian Thomas was a better receiver than Marvin Harrison.
Prior to the season?
Yeah, prior to the season.
I saw a lot of
not
Malik
lot.
Neighbors over Harrison.
Not a lot, but I did see some people talking about Brian Thomas over him. So not overly surprising that he is one of the top.
It's just absurd though, because Marvin Harrison went in the end of the first, the second round, and Neighbors went in the fourth or whatever.
But
So
Brian Thomas, he ran a 4.35, is that what it was? At 6'4", 220 pounds, not a lot of humans.
6'3", 209.
Yeah, not
Sorry,
a lot of
I hit
humans
the-
can do that, right? So
Yeah, no, he's great. I was definitely targeting him coming into the draft, and was happy to see him still on the board. This year, you had to scoop up rookie wide receivers. You had to.
Yeah.
You got Xavier Worthy. I took Brian Thomas. You know, Billy got Harrison. Marv got Neighbors. Frank got a Dunze. And, you know, things have been working better and
even
worse.
Sean got McConkey.
Yeah. Oh, he's been awesome.
Yeah, well, he's been okay. He's had a couple good weeks. He had some down weeks.
Lately, he's been awesome.
Well, last week he put up 7 points.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I was.
Yeah.
It's
been good. But like he's been up and down like a rookie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man. So we will move along to Market Watch. So who are you highlighting today?
I will start out with Jonnu Smith,
Good choice.
who is on the uptick.
I would imagine so.
After some bad years in New England, and then where did he go last year? To Falcons, yeah, Atlanta. He is he's found a home once again with the Dolphins, and they are using him appropriately, and he is putting up a lot of points.
He's getting mad targets. I think he's 6 weeks in a row with 6 or more targets?
Something like that. I think
absurd.
He's been leading the team in targets the last few weeks.
It's time to pay attention to Jonnu.
Billy sat him last week with like 28 points.
I saw that.
So he started him this week, and well, it helped him more than anyone else on his team.
All right, I'm going to highlight Austin Eckler, the backup running back in Washington, who was the highlight running back in LA for several years, even when they were in San Diego.
Yeah, for a while.
Austin Eckler is on the rise. Brian Robinson is back from injury, but Austin Eckler performed so well when he was gone that his target share and his running volume is there, and he's looking like the Austin Eckler we all remember. So whoever has him, I think it's Frank or Scott. Why do I always get Frank and Scott's rosters mixed up?
Yeah, I don't know.
Whoever's got him, you know, you might want to think about playing him most weeks as the season runs out. He's a great option, and you know, not too many backup running backs will make you excited. I know if Eckler was on my team, I would be a little excited. Doesn't mean to send me trade offers that don't make sense, but you can send me ones that make sense.
All right, so it's neither Frank nor Scott.
It's
but it's Jay.
Jay.
Yeah.
J Holiday.
Yeah. So my next Market Watch participant is Wan'Dale Robinson.
Ooh, Wan'Dale.
Yes.
I wonder what direction this is going to go because Tommy Cutlets.
So I'm saying that his stock is down.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now
we'll see.
I could see him getting slot receiver catches, but I just don't see it.
You think Tracy will be more of the reserve
Tracy,
outlet for
I think
the quarterback?
The tight end.
Yeah.
I think that Malik, you know, they're going to put Malik on slants. They're probably not going to throw deep a lot. But
so you're looking at a low target share for Wan'Dale?
I think that everyone's going to have a low target share, and the more talented you are, the more you're going to get. But I just don't think a lot of whatever his name is.
Just
Tommy,
think of sandwiches. Just think
yeah.
of chicken cutlets, Tommy cutlets.
Yeah,
I had
that
a
guy.
pesto, vodka sauce, marinara sauce, chicken cutlet with all types of cheese on it called the Tommy Cutlet from this place, Crave in Ansonia, Connecticut. It was insanely good, and that's the most happy Tommy Cutlets has ever made me.
Yeah. Danny DeVito's nephew.
Yeah. Also, just a quick question: Would you think Devin Singletary's stock will go up or down based on where it is right now?
I got to see the whole offense going down just because you can
even the running back Tracy.
Well, yeah, because you can bring the safeties closer up to the line. Like at least Daniel Jones had a rocket for an arm.
True.
You had to respect his ability to get
run.
to Malik Neighbors, and then yes, you got to respect his ability to run. When you're going down to Tommy DeVito, I feel like it just allows the defense to really focus a lot more on the intermediate and short parts of the field, which means that there's a lot less room for everyone.
So everyone in the Giants. My next player to highlight is Malik Neighbors, and his stock is actually going down with the ship.
Yeah,
so
yeah, I see it too.
We don't even have to go too deep into that. Who you got next?
I got T. Higgins.
Higgins.
He's finally healthy. He's been out for weeks, and he is on the rise.
Okay, I thought you were going to say going down on some bitter shit from getting 30 points against you last week.
No. And honestly, I'm even more bitter because I kind of want the Patriots to pick him up in the offseason. I'm hoping that his injuries have been contract related because 2 out of the last 3 seasons he's had injury issues.
He might as well just join the 49ers.
But, like,
Injury
let's-
City.
Joe Burrow threw the ball 50 times. All right. They are
How
not
many targets
scared.
did T. Higgins get? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, I'm not sure.
I'll look it up. Tell me what you're saying.
Yeah, so he threw the ball 50 times, and everyone knows that Jamar Chase is the number 1 on that team. You can't double team both of them because Andre Yoshivas is still good. Chase Brown is still good. You've got Mike Gesicki. You know, like, there are other options. And so if T. Higgins is back at full health and they're committing to throwing the ball like this and their defense is booty, so they're always going to be in shootouts.
I'm confused.
What?
T. Higgins was 9 for 13 targets for 148 yards. He
Yeah,
had a
yeah.
69%
Catch rate.
I thought
Yeah.
it was only 69 yards.
No,
I'm like, how did he-
149.
148. Oh,
And
wow.
2 touchdowns.
So 13 targets, that's beast.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
no, only 1 touchdown. That's it. Unless he ran one. No.
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
one. Wow.
Oh, no, right. Jamar got 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Is that how it went?
But
I thought it was the
T
other way
put up more
around.
fantasy points based on his yards and targets.
Yeah. So,
Damn.
yeah, T. Higgins, I think he is on the upswing. He probably, like, especially if his injury was contract related, then he's back fully healthy and motivated because he wants a huge contract in the offseason.
I'll tell you what, he's blowing out his peers, Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, just by this past week's performance. I mean, he is
Yeah.
looking like the hottest ticket out of those 3.
Thanks for reminding me.
Oh, yes. Yeah, you
I
got
mean,
Devontae
I took
Smith.
Jalen Waddle in the 2nd round.
Oh, you have Jalen
So,
Waddle and Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry. I didn't even realize that. I'm just saying
I
it because
took Jalen Waddle in the 2nd round.
that's insane. Wow. So Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith, the reason I bring them up with T. Higgins is because they're excellent receivers, but they're not the top receiver on their team. So it's just like
Yeah.
the 3 best backup receivers in the NFL. Maybe not so much after this season.
I don't know.
My next coverage will go to Big Country, the man from Montana, Will Dissly. It's starting to look real. I know he got a huge touchdown pass to stack his numbers up this week. He did only catch 4 passes, but the Chargers are using him. He's using his hands, and he's a big dude. So you better watch out when they throw Dissly the ball because he's trucking down like the Oregon Trail like a wagon. You don't want to get ran over by that wagon wheel.
Yeah, Harbaugh has that team playing really well. And Herbert is just efficient. He can really toss the ball around, and they don't really have a standout wide receiver. So I think that a lot, like basically the top 3, you've got Dissly, you've got Lad McConkey, and you've got Quentin Johnson. I think they're all playable throughout the rest of the year. And as far as tight ends go, they can be so hit or miss. So having them on the team can definitely help you through the end of the season.
Yeah. Solid.
I'm going to go with the Broncos running backs. And their stock is down.
Oh.
And it's not because any one of them is really bad, but they're all kind of good.
Yeah.
And Sean Payton has shown that he's going to go with the heavy hand, with the hot hand. And so you can't count on any of them.
You can't.
Right.
Javonte Williams, Audric Estime, they're literally back and forth, and then Bo Nix is the one running in the touchdown.
Right,
So it's
exactly.
completely understandable.
So as a Broncos fan, you got to be happy with what you have because they're going to be productive every game.
and you don't have Russell Wilson anymore, so
And
that's a
you don't
plus.
have Russell Wilson. But if you're trying to start them in fantasy, I was fortunate to pick up Audric Estime because I had no one else
Yeah.
to start.
It
and
looked
so
better.
I'll take the 6 points. But
It did look better prior to this week. Like you were expecting more out of him because
I was
of
expecting
the
nothing.
word.
I was expecting nothing. So getting 5 points.
I would say most people, because he was one of the hottest ads this week when it comes to running backs, and I think most people
Yeah.
were kind of expecting Sean Payton's hype to actually come out on the field, but then Javonte Williams did better than everybody on everyone's bench. So
yeah.
really tough, rather truffle.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Now,
truff,
truff is good though. Have you had truff?
Truff.
The hot sauce, the truffle infused hot sauce.
No, I haven't. Do you have it
Oh,
with you?
God,
Can we try
yeah.
it live?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
Yeah. There's like a little bit in that red bottle next to the orange juice.
oh yeah.
There's
I
like
have
a real
seen
little
this.
bit. That stuff.
Oh, is it
that's
hot?
the best hot sauce. The red one's a little hot, yeah.
I like hot.
The white one, white truffle, that one's really good.
How do I try this?
On your finger, I guess,
All right,
if you
do
really
it.
want
Yeah,
to try it.
I washed my hands. So.
No, this is so
I like
good.
put my whole hand.
Smell it here.
Oh, it smells nice. Very garlicky. It's nice.
Yeah. So my daughter eats truff.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Awesome.
We used to. Yeah, there's not a lot left, so maybe you're actually SOL on this one, my friend.
Yeah, that's all right.
But
I'll smell it again.
Yeah. No, my.
Oh yeah, very nice vinegar and garlic flavor. Truffle hot sauce. I'm into real heat. Like I really like. Oh, there we go. There's a taste.
Yeah. So it's not super spicy.
Oh, it's lovely.
But we used to at
Ooh,
the
that's-
restaurant. We used to dip our vegan chicken nuggets straight into this.
It's mad good.
I'm telling you.
It's like you smash the piece of garlic with some
With some
like
truffles.
vinegar peppers.
Yeah.
And oh my god, that's
Oh
lovely.
yeah. No,
I like
that is by far my favorite hot sauce because like the flavor is so unique and it's so like perfect.
My
good
favorite
stuff.
hot sauce is new. It's Melinda's ghost pepper. There's two ghost pepper ones. There's like a lighter one and then there's a dark one. And the dark one it's strong, but it has that strong vinegar, like hit a home run, make all your pores open up,
Yeah.
like feel the
So
heat.
this is more like a sauce,
Yeah.
right? It's a hot sauce, so but it's
this
more
is-
like a dipping sauce.
Yeah.
Whereas like if I'm going for a more traditional hot sauce, I'm going El Yucateco. I'll use the red one if I just want like straight flavor.
or the green one.
I'll use the green one if I wanted to burn my
Esophagus.
top and my bottom.
I mean, if we're talking hot sauces, sorry to gear towards this, but I'm a Tabasco guy, man. I love
Really?
me some Tabasco. I love
Oh,
Tabasco.
I hate it.
I love it. I can't get
Oh,
enough
man.
of it. I would put it on ice cream if they had like a savory ice cream.
I think that Tabasco is the most disgusting hot sauce ever made.
Nah, well, you don't like vinegar then. I love vinegar.
Yeah, I'm not
a
fan
big
of the
vinegar
hot
guy.
sauce. I like more of the habanero.
I love heat, but cherry peppers are my favorite pepper because of that super, well, when they're soaked in vinegar and salt and
Yeah.
garlic and stuff. But all right, on to my last coverage of a player named Cedric Tillman, whose hot sauce is running low. Cedric Tillman looked to be a real great ad on waivers a couple weeks ago. He put up like something like 25, 28 points a
28,
couple
I
weeks
think.
ago. And then last week he put up almost 20. This week he was down to about 6, and that's what you could expect from him. He could have those bomb games because Jameis Winston is slinging, but you got to realize there's about 5 other dudes out there that Jameis Winston's looking at. And it just takes away the value because there's so many mouths to feed on an offense that can throw the ball, but you know they can't really.
And you got to remember that Jameis is looking at 5 guys on his team and then 5 guys on the other team.
Oh yeah,
too.
he has to evenly distribute.
Yeah,
Jameis Winston does not discriminate on
equal
what team you're on.
opportunity
For
quarterback.
sure. Yeah.
All right.
All right. So, do you have any more? Or are we?
No,
are we
that's
moving
it.
on
That's
to
all I got.
moving on to the party?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go.
Sly as a fox.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'll start out. Actually, you start out because you got a couple few.
Yeah, I got 3. I got 3 Slides of Fox picks. Yeah, I'll start out. Want me to
go
give
ahead.
all 3?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
for it.
All right. I'll be quick. So my Slides of Fox picks for this week, there was a lot of sly moves, and Frank gets the first one for working that waiver wire and scooping up the combo of Xavier Worthy and Stephon Diggs. Both players could be legitimate keepers as Frank looks forward as his season is on life support. So he's making moves for next year. It's really good to see. He actually has value in Xavier Worthy for the rest of this season. He's not totally dead. So there is a possibility that he could just slide Stephon Diggs into the IR and keep playing this year. So he gets my first Sly as a Fox pick. My second Sly as a Fox pick would be Colin for switching out a spiraling Jets defense with the top scoring Texans defense to sign, seal, and deliver one of the largest scores and largest victories the league has ever seen. So it obviously wasn't just the Texans defense, but that was a bold move on his end.
It did not hurt.
They also have a pretty solid schedule for the rest of the season, so really good outlook on that. Great. Colin gets my Sly as a Fox
I
pick.
dropped them on their bye week to pick up the 49ers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. And then my other Sly as a Fox pick, none of these are in any particular order because you guys are all awesome for doing so. But I'm going to give it to Longfellow and Julia for picking up.
So this one for you, at least half of it is Sly and Foxy.
Yeah. Oh, Sly and Foxy. Yeah, Longfellow. The whole thing's Foxy. Longfellow could be Foxy. He just has to, do his hair the right way. So Longfellow and Julia for picking up and playing Taysom Hill this week. Beast mode.
Yeah.
Great pickup.
Good job.
Nothing more needs to be said.
Yeah. So mine is in a similar vein, but mine goes to Catch This Fade, Marvelous, for picking up Bo Nix on waivers, who then went to score the third most points for any QB.
Solid, dude.
Now, it wasn't overly crazily Sly because before that he had Matthew Stafford and he scored like 1 point less. But nonetheless, whenever you pick up a guy on waivers and they score the third most points for their position, you got to get credit. So,
yeah, for sure.
Good job, Marv. And you really kind of Sly for the whole season because you're in first place. So
10-1, right?
Well done, yes.
Hot
One
diggity. Loss. Damn. Hopefully you get some more losses. Who cares about the next 3 weeks? But after that. All right, guys. So... great. So we're done with Sly as a Fox. Let's move along to the game plan.
Yeah.
We want to talk late season pre-trade deadline keeper strategies. If you didn't follow me, just what are you doing about your keepers? You need to think about it this week. And here's a couple bullet points as to what to do.
Yeah. So we kind of already talked about, during the Market Watch segment or the game plan segment rather. No, Market Watch, about who you should be trading, who you should be trying to hold on to.
Yeah.
It's all well and good to think about your keepers for next year, but you also have to think about the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to weigh out whether your keepers are going to help you in the playoffs or whether they're going to be a hindrance and whether they're good enough to hold on to for next year. I think that's what Trey Marvellis was thinking about when he sent the trade. Was like, sure, he said that Malik is a guaranteed keeper for next year, but like I came to the conclusion of he must have as well been looking at like, is he really like, do I want to give up a third round pick?
He might go in the third or the fourth next year.
Right.
You know,
I mean, at the very most, he's probably going second round. Like,
that's the only way you get value.
Yeah, I don't think he's sneaking into the first round. So he's obviously thinking like, is this guy really doing it for me, or should I trade him for someone who's really going to give me some good numbers in the playoffs?
And if you're out, you want to look to trade your high value keepers for next season, trade for them. And then if you're in, which everybody really is, try to land a trade using keeper value as added motive, like Marv did.
Yeah, it's really just like Sean, myself, and Frank who have to be thinking like, all right, there's a very little chance that we're making it into the next round. So do we either want to trade away someone like Rashee Rice, who has good value, for someone who can help us over the hump into the playoffs? Or is the likelihood so low that we really just want to make sure that we have someone worthwhile to keep when it comes into the next season? So I know that I'm certainly trying to weigh those two. Luckily for me, I think that Rashee Shaheed is a good keeper for next year. So he's on the trading block, and if anyone's interested in him, I could definitely use better players on my team.
Yeah, and I've got Brian Thomas in the same breath. I'm not looking to trade him, but I will if the right offer comes. And then you want to also do what Pascal and Frank have done so far, even past the trade deadline, which is looking to add injured fantasy studs that'll be valuable next season, hopefully. And then when you guys are all said and done, you want to create a list of players on your team that should have any sort of keeper value, and then just know who your keepers could be, because we really don't know what everybody's ADP is going to be until after the NFL draft in the summer. So you want to just hold on to what's going on. Exactly. Like things happen.
Injuries
things
in the off season. There's a lot that
additions
can
to the team,
Right.
upgrade to quarterback, adding a running back to a room that you owned. Like there's a lot of things that can happen for sure. So just keep an eye on that. And you want to like already have an idea of who your keepers could be and if you have value in keepers. So
Yeah, totally.
yeah. So
So the last thing is we want to talk about the losers bracket.
yes,
right?
definitely. This is the time to do that.
So I am very close to last place, especially after Sean won this week. And I don't know how it works.
We've had this debate, and I think it's been pretty split.
So not necessarily the bracket itself. Like we already know that the rule is whoever's in last place at the end of the regular season is our toilet bowl team.
However, the toilet bowl trophy goes to the team that loses the consolation bracket because
Does it? It's
because it adds incentive to play in the losers bracket.
But see, all right, no, I think you're wrong. Even though you're co-commissioner, because we've gone over this and we haven't wanted the non-playoff teams to participate in the waiver wire, right? So as of this moment, the toilet bowl trophy goes to whoever the worst team in the regular season is. And part of the reason why we're bringing this up is to make sure that we are on the same page with that.
All right, one thing, I was the worst team last year and I won the losers bracket. I don't have the toilet bowl trophy.
Well, so that's why we need to
Babalu
talk
kept
about it.
it because he lost. So we do need to make a solid justification as to what the toilet bowl trophy, who actually gets that. I believe there's zero incentive to even play the consolation bracket if you don't include some sort of
And that's the
reason
point.
to win.
And that's the point. We don't want people who are in the losers bracket to
Take away waivers.
Waivers.
You know,
However,
the worst teams.
now that we have keepers, I do think that should change.
I think it
But-
should always have.
But we have to vote on it because that's not how it's been.
Of course.
So as of right now,
It's kind
the
of
rules are
fuzzy.
The rules are that whoever's in last place gets the toilet bowl trophy.
Then where's
from
my
the regular
trophy
season.
from last year?
Well, you should have been looking at that, my friend.
See, I thought Babalu could just keep it because he ended up getting last place last year.
But we talked about it last season,
Or Scott.
and we came
Damn.
so right. It's all messed up
Where
right
is
now.
the toilet bowl trophy? Babalu, do you still have that
all
shit?
messed up right now. So the loser pays for the toilet bowl trophy to come to them, right? Whatever it costs in the mail or whatever. right?
I think that we should make that a rule,
Right.
A real rule, instead of just kind of like leaving it up in the air and letting
or
Baba
it'd be
keep
the
it on his
loser
mantle.
from last year, but like someone has to pay for it to travel. So it makes most sense for the last place team to pay for it to travel.
Yeah.
Right?
Last place.
In the regular season.
Okay.
Now, I think that it should change because of keepers, but I also think that it should change in conjunction with our draft positioning.
Okay.
I think that we should switch our draft positioning to the inverse of the playoff seeding at the end of it all, from whoever got first place to whoever got 8th place after the playoffs are done.
Yes.
And then the winner of the consolation bracket gets first overall pick.
Now that provides the contradiction, which you have already shown, of not working the waiver wire if you're out.
Right.
So you have to be able to forget about that and allow everybody to work the waiver wire.
That's exactly
the
what
entire
this does.
season.
That's exactly what this does.
We
Is
have
that
to do
now.
that.
There's competition for the waiver wire for every team. However, what this also does is it means that even the players in the consolation bracket have something to play for.
Yes.
And it makes the fantasy season interesting for everyone in the league, not just the players in the playoffs, because now if you win the consolation bracket, you get first overall pick.
Yeah, I like that. 9th place gets first, 10th second,
Right.
11th third, 12th fourth, and then you go from 8th to 1st
Right.
for the next pick.
There's a playoffs for everyone.
Now that brings up the point of the 7th place game and the 5th place game, which obviously like never really had any reason to like play those.
And now they do.
But now if you
wanna
lose, yeah. So it's
we can't trade.
Maybe we flip 8 and 7 and 5 and 6 and really get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, we can think about it. We should talk about it in the chat, see what people think about it.
Because third, your incentive is your money back.
Right.
So obviously you're going to want to win third if you're in the 3rd place game.
Right. So then, yeah, maybe it's 4th through 12th are determined by the playoff brackets, right?
So in this reality, it would go 9, 10, 11, 12, 7, 8, 5, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Right.
Because then, yeah, I think that would be really good. We'll obviously bring this up in the chat and hopefully vote on it, and hopefully we get enough people behind it, because that's a good idea.
Yeah,
and it kind of gets rid of any of the cloudiness and the clutter of how things have been with the losers.
And it wouldn't be for this season, right? We couldn't institute this for the next draft because it has to happen after the consolation brackets, after the playoffs. So we'd still be one draft out from this being instituted.
However, we can always make this decision before the playoffs are solidified, and then we can put this into play.
Well,
I mean, if we have an agreement
we could,
to do so.
We could, if we can get everyone to vote on it before the playoffs, then
So
you're right.
Keep an eye on the chat. Anybody who's not really on the chat, we'll get your info, and we'll try to get everybody's vote so we can get a real solid idea of what's what. And if it's tied 6-6, we're gonna bring it to the last person that was in the league that's no longer in the league. What is it? Is it Mike Pop? Is it Billy's cousin?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
So Mike's gonna get to choose what the answer is. Other than that, what do we got? Any? What about punishments? So should we maybe bring that up in the chat? I know it's always a conversational piece.
I mean, like punishments sound fun, but like. If the punishment is like to go to like a steakhouse, I'm not doing it because like I don't eat meat. But so it's just not happening.
That would be a personal punishment. The punishment would have to be settled before the season, right? So that's something we can't do this year,
right? And it's got to make sense for people's like everyone. Non-negotiables.
And it would have to basically be for everyone. It's just some sort of embarrassing or funny thing or something they have to do for others.
Yeah, the 24 hours in a bar, that's always interesting. And like you lose an hour for every drink, like that kind of stuff. Like I think that stuff like that can be funny. It can be fun.
Yeah, my brother Seamus has some really good ones. He's been in a lot of leagues and comes
I think
across
that
a lot of funny
if people
ones.
are really interested in it, let's start bringing them into the chat or into the comments. Leave them in the comments section
below
on here.
Yeah,
and we'll try to bring up a poll during the off season for next season.
Cool. All right. Let's add some incentive to all games, right?
Yeah.
All games
I
will
think it
matter.
makes it more fun for everyone.
Yeah. Do you want to take a ride real quick?
Let's go.
All right.
Parallel universe.
Oh my God. We are well over time. I actually have some stuff for the parallel universe. I'm going to fly through it. All right. Thanks, Billy, for letting me know some inside, you know what?
Just some suggestions on how to make the podcast better.
Yes. All right. So in the Lion's Den, we have a highlight. The Charge. Steve, Jay's dad, the Jets, led by 51.72 going into Sunday Night Football. He completed his fantasy day and was projected to win. The matchup against the top-ranked team in the league, the Danny DeVito Bail Fund. Chaz and the DeVitos put up a formidable 4 Chargers on Sunday Night Football, led by Justin Herbert, J.K. Dobbins, Cameron Dicker, and Derwin James. He ends up getting palpable performances by each of them, putting up double digits from each player to total 53.28 and declare victory by about 11.5 points. Nice job. Sorry, Jay's dad. Maybe next time. Next highlight in that league, led by Bo Nix's 27.78 and Chris Boswell's 24. Third seed, Steal Your Face Mask, needed 19.6 out of CD Lamb to tie against the 8th seed, Mr. McGiblets. CD ended up with 14.6, putting this nail biter to an end Monday night as Steal Your Face Mask loses by 5 and takes the rare L in both Jay's league and put it in the air this week.
So is Billy Steal Your Face Mask in both?
He is, yeah. He changed
Okay,
his name. He was
okay.
Dollar Bills Destroyers in both. Now he's Steal Your Face Mask.
I'm
in
not
both.
mad at that.
Yeah.
Like, especially for the podcast, it makes it a lot easier to keep up with what's going on and who you're talking about.
It does make sense. I was the East Coast Virus in both, but I switched the name to Albino Chameleons from Queens. But enough about me. In the Family League, we have 2 highlights. We have the second seed Great White facing off against first place Worcester football team. That's Julia against my nephew. And she put a stamp on the league led by Taysom Hill, Saquon Barkley, Chris Boswell, and Jamison Williams. Julia poured it on and put up 197.86 to win by 111.5, which looks like a pedestrian performance next to Collins' big week. However, alongside her dominating win, Julia bolsters up her team by completing a trade with newly acquired Jalen Hurts as she ships off DJ Moore in a trade with the Long Island Iced Teas just before the
that's
deadline.
a win for her because
Yeah.
Jalen puts up some big weeks.
Big time.
I do want to say that I believe it's Worcester.
Worcester, yeah. I said Worcester?
Yeah.
It's Worcester. Yeah, thanks for correcting me. My nephew would be like, dude, what the hell?
My sister went to Clark University in Worcester.
In Worcester.
So,
Worcester.
yeah.
All right. And second highlight to the Family League, Bobo Brigade held on to a 6.98 lead against Beans, leading into Monday night. Beans, Sam, had only one player left with Dalton Schultz needing just 7 points and putting up 8.3.
Ooh,
Wow. It was his second to last catch towards the end of the third quarter that put Beans over the top by .02, and another 3-yard catch in the fourth quarter provided some please don't fumble insurance as Beans moves into the playoffs from 9th place to 8th.
Huge
Yeah.
win.
Yeah, huge. And officially knocking out Bobo Brigade in my stepdad Pete, his first season in the league. He's now 1-10.
Oh,
so it's
man,
pretty rough.
that
He had
hurts.
a rough draft. I think he'll
Listen, we have had
improve.
some amazing comebacks from some of our league mates who were pretty regularly out of the playoffs and nowadays are some of the tops in our league. So
Yeah, and
just keep it up and it turns around quickly.
he's doing good. He's also very active, so he'll do good in the future, I'm sure. And then just a quick run over to Hoop. There it is. I just want to highlight a team, the Bridgeport Velcro Athletic. Aggie's friend, he has just had a stranglehold on this league, seemingly always in first place when it comes to the regular season. He's currently 4-0 and in first. He was the 2020 inaugural season champion, even though the season was short and there was no playoffs. He was just in first place. But he has not made a championship. I think he made 2021. I beat him. He's
Still looking for his first championship.
yeah,
though.
his first official championship.
Okay.
Billy has one. I have 3, and he has the first one. So I'm in second place. I'm breathing down his neck.
Nice.
So yeah, moving along. You got anything for the Parallel
Nope.
Universe? All right, cool, man. So let's move on to our closing segments.
All right, you got someone for the doghouse
Yeah,
this
I
week?
got someone for the doghouse. That would be.
I think I'm going to take a guess.
Yeah, it's a free falling team, not named Frank Maheen.
I fuck said
Man.
mom.
Yes. Aggie, you loser. Aggie, you need to win at least 2 games out of the next 3 in order to guarantee yourself a playoff spot.
Okay. I wonder if he beat Colin this year, because if he did, he only needs 1.
That's true. Then
I
again,
think.
it's not true.
I mean, yeah, all the different tiebreakers. Maybe he does need to just to solidify it. Like,
there's a lot of tiebreaker situations, and I was talking to Pascal before the podcast. We always talk, and I basically was like, yeah, I really think 8th and 9th place this year along with other teams, will probably have the same record. So it's really going to come to those head-to-head
Yeah,
matches.
it really might be like 7th through 10th all having the same record, or
Yeah.
even worse. So
It's crazy because Babalu, Jay, and I all had the same record 2 weeks ago. Baba was in the lead, then me, then Jay. And now we all have the same record again, and now it's flipped. Jay, then me, then Baba, because we all have a 1-1 record with those 3 teams.
Yep.
And the highest score is Jay by like 6 now. So it's pretty
Yep.
good. Pretty good stuff.
In my doghouse,
Yes. Who we got? I know it's not me this week. Finally.
it's still you.
Oh, I know why.
Because you haven't paid anybody. What are you talking about? You're in the doghouse until we get our money. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
I owe out week 5 till now, and y'all will get your money. Everyone except Colin, because I like when he gets mad.
We have more weeks that have not been paid out than weeks that have been paid out.
That's right.
That's a problem.
The money's there. It's just sitting there, and I'm just,
Did you actually use it on comic books? Did you make it comic book money?
they're coloring
Books?
coloring books,
Oh.
comic books. So it's at least something fun. And I'm gonna try to sell them to recoup the money. I'm trying.
Give me
to
my
get a profit.
money. Give me my money.
I'm so surprised that I'm in the doghouse after this week.
Really?
Yeah. No,
Really?
actually, I'm not.
You have responsibilities, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'll handle them. I mean, I woke up at 2 a.m. to finish my freaking notes for the
I
podcast.
hear
Give me
you.
a break,
I
guys.
hear you.
I'll have your money out this week. I promise. Like I said, everyone but Colin, because I love when he gets mad. He's probably like, what are you doing? Why would you do this? It's my money, and I want it now.
All right, JG Wentworth.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for the podcast today. And always remember when setting your waivers to put it in the air.
This is the Put It in the Air podcast.
That was a pretty good one.
It was good. I'm so surprised that Sean's still alive. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
If he lost, he'd be done.
And really, like, the way he won, right, with just like, what was it, like 4 or 5, like 5, like really big scores, right? 18 plus, but then everyone else was below 10.
It's true.
Now he could have gotten some help from Cortland Sutton, and then he had someone else on his bench who both put above 10.
Yeah.
But he didn't need it. He won. So you saw he came back into the chat like a gangbuster, like, I won.
Yo, he wrote to me earlier in the day on Sunday, and he's like, I'm finally doing it. I'm finally getting a win.
Yeah.
And then like a few hours later, I didn't really look, and he's like, oh, I spoke too soon, man. Shit.
Really?
Yeah, but turns
Oh,
out it
good
worked
for
out
him.
for him.
Good for him. Feels good.
I know Baba's kicking himself in the butt with his heels right now.
Hopefully this projects or like propels him into staying in the league next year.
Yeah, we'd like you back,
Low
man.
positivity.
Holler at $1.
Yeah, man. All right. And on that, I think we out.
Yep. Peace.